Oh, God. You got me coughing already.
And that's why I'll never tell you where the antidote is. Oh, damn it. We both took a vial. A vial of shit. That is This Week in Pop Culture. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Damn Cast. My name is Christopher. Just put it on VOD already, Johnson.
My name is Matthew, but the profits, Watson.
the scale, the pyramid, we must see it climb.
The profits.
Look, I've had enough of looking at graphs with a climbing figures that make me sad. I don't want to add hobbies and media to that same equation. Because the world is miserable enough with actual death, destruction, and horrible stuff going on. I don't want to also want cinema to tank completely, which is why, Matthew, in our actual bit of pop culture news this week,
no!
The Big Damn Cast, nerdy news, geeky gossip, stuff to make you go, oh, right, that's the thing. Anyway, people are dying. I know, but we're here to provide a stupid distraction for 2 hours. And that distraction this week comes in the form, very briefly, of a bit of news. Turns out Mulan, the Disney live-action, quote-unquote, reimagining, cash cow, is indeed getting released in August, as planned.
August.
Except not to cinemas. They're rolling it back a little, aren't they? Like by a week or so.
Yeah.
And they are pumping it out now to video on demand, which Trolls 2 did after a week in cinemas.
Yes.
Which Scoob did for the entirety of its release, which a few independent movies have ended up doing as well. They've bitten the bullet and gone, right, we're going to VOD. While we have a captive audience, let's, tease them with trailers, get their interest, and then be like, right, you can rent the film for 10 quid or whatever. Let's just do this. And it's like, fair enough, sure, everyone's going to take a bit of a loss, but this is how you make profit during a pandemic in the entertainment industry. Mulan is doing the same, except there's a catch.
A surprisingly pricey catch.
I know, right? We've not had a UK quote yet, have we? But based on US dollars to Great British Pound translation, always roughly subtract about a quarter in your head.
At the moment, so in the States, it's got a $30 price tag to watch it on Disney Plus.
That's the thing. Not on Apple, not on YouTube, not on Google Play, not on Amazon. It's exclusively available to rent on Disney Plus. Now, we both have Disney Plus. We like Disney Plus. We enjoy Disney Plus, but we're paying for Disney Plus. Like, we are, we're paying to have that subscription service. So if you are going to make something available on there for a limited time on demand, exclusively to Disney Plus, owners, we get it. You're trying to incentivize people to get Plus who may not already have got it, who really want to see this film. Sure. But then you whack a $30 price tag on it as a rental?
That's 22 quid in our money.
Even for a family of 4, that's pushing
that
it.
Is a
because you
lot.
then have to also pay for a Plus membership of at least a month.
Yeah.
At least a month.
Yeah.
To get hold of it. Because I think there's something in the terms and conditions that says that free trial members won't be able to take part in that offer. You have to be a member.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, Lucy and I were talking about this, and she said, so they did that with Scooby-Doo. I was like, yeah. She went, how does that work then? I was like, well, they charged it was $14.99 or something to rent it.
Like the cost of a DVD. The cost of buying a DVD, which is not great.
She said, that's a lot. And I went, right, but it's not on home video release. So this is the only way to see it.
Yeah.
Like it would be at the cinema, where your ticket is, based on where you're going to be anywhere between 6 and 15 quid, based on where and what time. But also, when you see a film like that, you're usually taking kids, or you're usually a group of nostalgic adults.
Yeah.
So the price of watching it together would be 30, 40, 50 quid after all's said and done.
Let me pull up Google Play Movies while we're chatting so I can see what the rental prices on there are like.
So it's, I kind of understand the cinematically delayed movies, shall we say, getting a slightly higher rental price on home media. Because also, we're in that industry. We understand that a massive loss is being made. So if they can recoup that with just a few extra quid from each patron, sure, like, fine. If it means that industry, that studio, is going to be okay. And, people will be like, but these are the massive studios like Warner Brothers, Disney, they're not hurting. No, but they will if, like, a film that was projected, like Mulan, is projected to make, $100 million in its opening weekend or something, like, as a benchmark. As like we're gonna make that in the opening weekend domestically. Worldwide, we're gonna make like 5 times, 6 times as much. To put it on home media rental, even at the price they're putting it at, they're looking at a loss of about 50% of the estimated profit from cinematic release.
Yeah.
Like, they're looking at a huge loss, and that's with the upped price tag. Well, if they lower the price tag, then more people will rent it. Sure, but then like 5 times more people have got to rent it, which means you've got to guarantee that's going to happen for them to still not break even on this investment. Like, there's a reason Black Widow has been pushed back to November, but they've said since that date is also subject to change.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Bill and Ted 3, like a movie that, people are looking forward to, but it's not going to be like the massive smash hit of the summer.
Yeah.
There's a reason why that has bitten the bullet and gone, we'll probably make a decent amount of profit on VOD. Like, people are making decisions whether or not put this out on home media or hold it back until we can get everyone in cinemas. My honest opinion, hold everything back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hold it all back. Make home media that exists already slightly less costly. Do that. You know what I mean? Like, Amazon Prime, you've got new releases at $12.99. For a few months, make them $8.99. Just whack a few quid off here and there, and because here's the thing, and I say this as a host on a pop culture podcast about new releases.
Yeah,
yeah. There are enough games, films, albums, and TV shows in the world that we can be fine as consumers to not have something new and shiny to look at for a year.
Yeah.
It'll be weird because we're used to it. It'll be weird, but. Like, I'm sat in a room next to a wall of DVDs.
It's because none of the studios are willing to take that chance.
Wall of them.
None of the studios are willing to take that chance.
Well, that's the thing. The studios need to be more creative in making money in the meantime. They need to find more interesting and new ways that are adapting to this current climate. And again, maybe that is bundles. Maybe that is limited releases of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like do virtual screenings, like where you have to pay like a tenner to do like a virtual watch along where they're going to get like the cast involved, like live commentary screenings of films that already exist would be amazing.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like Hollywood, if you're listening, you're not. Have that.
No, it is.
Take it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you turned around to me and you went, right, so it's what 2020, it's the what film is it? The 20th anniversary of, like, what came out in like 2000?
Oh, Nothing Good,
for example. First X-Men. No, it's 99. That's not good, but it's interesting.
Nothing Good is the answer.
Right, okay, so for example, then, like it's 2020. No, sod that. Right, 2020. A few months back on the first year anniversary of like the release of Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
What you should do is through all this magical technology that's at everyone's disposal, like. Right, so for £10, like $15, you join in this live stream that we're going to put on through YouTube, through Disney, whatever. Like, a company will find a way. We'll do that, and you will basically have access to watch live, and it'll only happen once. You can't buy it afterwards.
Yeah.
Watch live the film, and it's going to be a live commentary. So the Russo brothers, the directors, they're going to be the MCs for it. And like every sort of 20, 30 minutes, they get a different cast member or two to come in on a Zoom thing. And just, you know what I mean? Like that would be like, oh my God, we're all stuck at home. So the movies are stuck at home.
Yeah.
And we get to enjoy films we already know and love. But it's like it's like going to a live screening. A director's sort of event where like they'll screen a film and do Q&A afterwards. Like turn cinema into an event at home and profit that way. Don't charge people enough money for like 3 cinema tickets plus the payment of the service that it's on to rent a film.
Yeah.
That stars a leading lady who sympathises with the aggressive Hong Kong police force.
What?
Anyway.
No! Right, so...
This has kind of given me the ultimate incentive to not bother with Mulan now. Like, I was already reluctant due to... aside from, I guess, Jungle Book being indifferent or annoyed by the reimaginings.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, the whole thing with its star and her stance on the Hong Kong police situation made me go, I want to support more female-led cinema blockbusters. I don't want to support her female-led cinema blockbuster.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I get where you're coming from.
She's a role model for kids and she's teaching everyone the wrong freaking lessons. Plus the fact that they chickened out of Mushu in any form.
Is it chickening out, like, or is it like, oh, wait, let's not do this? Out.
You just do it differently. You do it differently. You find a different way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose.
Jungle Book's central flaw, its only real big flaw, Matt, and I say this as a man who has done film studies and learned the ways of film, was quite simply its biggest flaw that essentially made it a failure in my eyes was not having a version of that little monkey going... They chickened out. They didn't show balls.
Okay, whatever you say.
Hey. But do you know what I mean? Like, this has made me go, sorry, Big Damn listeners, you're not hearing a Mulan review from me anytime soon. I can't be arsed.
Let's have a look at price comparison. Right? So, on the Google Play...
CompareTheMeerkat.com.
On the Google Play Store, looking at the latest releases, Scoob to rent, which is the only way you can get it at the moment.
Been out 2 months as well. Yeah, been out 2 months.
That's
no home video release in sight as yet, but I imagine they'll still bring it out when it was originally projected.
That's $15.99 to rent. And that's in 4K.
Wow, okay.
And it's the same price for whatever you're renting it on, but it'll automatically play at the highest resolution possible. Trolls World Tour is, to rent it, is $5.49.
Wow.
So most of the old releases are less.
That was a March release. Yeah. That was a March release, and it's now approaching what would have been its home video release originally.
Most of the old releases are down to like under £6 to rent. But like your newer releases, so Scoob is $15.99. What else we got on here? Finding the Way Back, the Ben Affleck basketball coach movie, that's $15.99. That's a newish release. What else? Things like basically anything that's available to buy is not really more than £6 to rent. The newer releases are King of Staten Island, the Pete Davidson movie, that's $15.99 to rent. Although why would you? So yeah, $30 or £22 in our money. That's a lot. That's a big markup, especially considering it's on a surface that you're already paying for.
Exactly. Now, I'm not expecting them to release it to Disney Plus for free, but I'm not expecting them to put it on Disney Plus as a rental.
No.
Yeah, maybe flip it. Maybe put it out for rental on every other surface. Put it out on every surface.
Well, yeah, every Microsoft Surface, but only Microsoft Surfaces. No other computer or tablet brand.
But you know what I mean? Like, put it out on the usual suspects, everywhere you can rent. And then 2 months later, if it ain't getting a theatrical release, 2 months later, you make it part of the Disney Plus lineup.
Chris, I can buy the entire season of Harley Quinn for less than Mulan on Disney Plus.
Where's that on Google Play?
On Google Play, it's £15 for the entire season.
Season 1?
Yeah.
Is season 2 on there?
No. Or is it? No, it is not.
Well, don't worry. I'm sure it'll be on the DC Universe app when A, it comes over here, and B, definitely doesn't get cancelled by the end of the year. Did you mention another little bit of news that snuck through the net this week? Is that HBO Max will be the home of Harley Quinn Season 3, meaning Harley Quinn Season 3 will be debuting there on that app.
That's another thing.
On the DC Universe app,
yeah,
where it was commissioned, which means Swamp Thing, 1 season, cancelled before the season was finished filming. Harley Quinn, 2 seasons on there, 3rd season's moving to another channel. Doom Patrol and Titans and Stargirl also being eyed up for broadcast elsewhere in the US, because over in the UK we've had them on different channels and services anyway.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're about to get broadcasting services elsewhere in the US, meaning their future seasons will probably move to those networks, meaning ultimately that the DC Universe app is dead.
Yeah.
Long live the DC Universe.
I mean, it was dead on arrival, let's
yet,
be honest.
Well, mostly because they kept chopping and changing the access to everything.
Yeah.
So this was an application. For those who don't know, DC Universe was a new streaming service / basically data hub in the States that you could use to watch DC Warner Brothers television, DC Warner Brothers movies, DC Warner Brothers home video releases, and go into a massive back catalogue of DC comics as they were added, on top of some brand new shows made just for the service.
Can you imagine reading a comic on your TV?
Cool. Yeah, well, no, but you know what I mean? It's like, that's you know what, fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, for the price tag, that's pretty cool. Especially because Marvel have always sort of been the better one at that in terms of its past curation with regards to the comics. Marvel Unlimited is like, what, £60 price tag?
Yeah, for a year.
For a year subscription.
And you just get...
And then you have access to everything they currently have digitized pre the last 6 months of when you're reading. So if you want the brand new current comic, you gotta go out and buy that if you want to do that, or buy it digitally. Or you wait 6 months and you read it in 6 months.
If you're waiting for the trade, you're basically... Marvel Unlimited is basically your best bet. Anyway.
Yeah. And then every time an old comic gets newly digitized, it gets added to the service.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you never read 80s Ghost Rider, but you've always wanted to, but there's only bits and pieces of it published. Oh, look, next year they'll have it all finished and on the service.
But why would you? Again, why would you?
There are Danny Ketch fans out there, and I'll never get it, but they're out there.
Danny Ketch is 90s Ghost Rider.
He feels more 80s.
I don't think
he feels like the 80s went, oh, we forgot this, and then dumped it.
Everything in the 90s feels like that. Especially in comics.
This Marvel Comics presents Wolverine and Ghost Rider.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to let you know Ghost Rider's in it so bad that his name takes up, adds to a half of the cover being covered in Ghost Rider's logo.
Wolverine's costume has Ghost Rider on the eyebrow. What? No, he's literally just got Ghost Rider written on his eyebrow.
It's just there.
Yeah.
I found some old comics, in case you're wondering.
No, I can see.
We're still Skyping. We're still Skyping the show at the moment.
Yeah, we were considering... Oh, God, that's horrendous. We were considering getting together to record this week, but then we went back into lockdown.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
We managed to got lockdown smackdown, so we ended up back at our respective homes. Marvel give you all this beautiful stuff in one clump.
Yeah.
And then DC go, we're going to give you that too. We've not got all of our backlog digitized as much as they have yet, but we're working on it. It's coming. And not only that, you can watch all the cartoons you grew up with. You can watch the cartoons your mum and dad grew up with. We're going to chuck on the Saturday night shows from the 70s and the 80s. We're going to put a bit of the 60s stuff in there when we can. The 40 serials are going to be available on the app. Everything we can possibly give you, plus new shows. And it was like, wow. And we all got really annoyed. We did on this podcast. We're like, when the hell are we getting it over here then?
Yeah.
There's no announcement. What's happening?
Yeah.
And then we've slowly watched over the last 2 years. Some of the shows have been cancelled. Some have moved to other places.
Yeah.
HBO Max has nabbed a bunch of the films, so they chop and change. If you love the DCEU, for example, I don't know how accurate this is. But why would you? I don't know how accurate this is currently, but if you want to watch all the DCEU, you better get the DC Universe app and HBO Max, because Batman v Superman and Justice League and Aquaman are over on HBO Max, but Wonder Woman and Shazam and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel, they're over on the DC Universe app. And it's like, right, hang on, what am I doing? Birds of Prey's not on either yet, but it will be eventually. In the meantime, here's a Harley Quinn show that's the best thing this app has produced.
Yeah, that's...
Oh my God, that's incredible. Can't wait to watch more. Oh, it's going to HBO Max now. So... It's so weird. I just hope now as a UK citizen that we get season 2 pretty damn soon, because it's already gone out on the DC Universe app in the States and the countries that have the app.
Yeah.
And B, I just want to know that we're also going to get season 3 and the E4 don't have to make like a new deal. Because HBO Max is still Warner Brothers, so come on. Don't faff us around. I want to see the best new show I've watched this year. I want to be able to watch it all when it comes out, for Christ's sake.
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well...
but people keep torrenting all our stuff. But we can't release it simultaneously worldwide. That would be and allow people to pay for it. We can't do that. But people keep pirating it. Just fuck off.
Do you know what you are, Matt?
What?
You're a right Chris Nolan. Always whining that you can't give the experience and get the experience you wanted. You just want to shoot everything in IMAX and to hell with people dying.
Christopher.
People ill and people dying. Children hurt and they're all crying.
Christopher,
Why not practice what you preach, but you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us. Send some
I have only one word for you. Tenet.
Oh, God. Did you know, Matt?
Did I know?
Tenet's probably not coming out.
No, it's definitely coming out on the 26th of August on IMAX in cinemas only.
That is the news I am so baffled that we even have to share this week, which is... So remember last week, we reported that Tenet had officially been given a release date in late August in IMAX cinemas throughout Europe.
Yeah.
No news on the States release yet. No news on the States release, but IMAX cinemas throughout Europe. Because US fans of Nolan's films are getting really annoyed because they're like, people are going to be spoiling it. There's going to be spoilers all over the internet. It's like, guys, how can there be spoilers for a film that's been kept so vague on purpose that like we don't know what it's about, other than time travel kind of.
If you want to spoil, a Chris Nolan film, all you need to do is kind of just post like the instruction manual for some IKEA furniture, because that's how all these films are constructed. It's like that's all it is.
Well, I thought you were going to say, do you know how you spoil a Chris Nolan film? You take the time to watch that Chris Nolan film.
No, I like more Chris Nolan films than I don't.
And that's why this is so perplexing, because we've been fans of his work and we have enjoyed his stuff before. And, I'm not going to lie, when I saw the cast list primarily for Tenet, I was like, oh, cool. All right. Yep. I'm intrigued to see that ensemble. I think he always brings together amazing talent to work on his films. And he always brings together a cast list where you sort of go, oh, shit.
Well, he seems to be continuing his ongoing love affair with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. And is Michael Caine in Tenet? Do we know? Is that a thing?
I'm not sure.
Researcher, could you get on that?
I'm going to get on that right now.
Oh, no, hang on. The researcher can't hear us. Researcher can't hear us because they're sat more than 2 meters away in another house, which we can't visit anymore. But we can have a drink with them down the pub.
We should have recorded this in the fucking Lord Nelson.
Other pubs are available, but they don't have as many mobility scooters parked outside.
Yeah, with all the old leathery blokes with the tops off who should be in Spain at this time of year, but they don't like the EU.
God. I went to the post office just before this recording, and outside the pub nearest to me, the one that's been renamed 85 times and is now finally reopened again, there was a gentleman sat outside on a mobility scooter with a complexion that can only be best described as uncooked yam. It wasn't even ham coloured. He was just sat outside it, and he was just cooked yam. He was bellowing.
He was like a sweet potato man.
He was bellowing to his friend with a shopping bag who looked like he just bumped into him on the way home and was dying to get home with his shopping. He was bellowing to his friend that I quote, I can't tell them apart half the time anyway. A mask's going to make it even more annoying. And I was like,
good.
I'm going to keep walking before I hear any more of what he's saying and absolutely decipher exactly what he means. Because I know full well what he means, but I'm going to keep walking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to keep walking.
You know.
Great, mate. Thank you so much for reinforcing the idea that everybody who's going to the pub every single day at the moment during all this is a twat. Anyway, the point is... insert angry comments here. The point is...
Oh, by the way, it looks like I'm wrong about Tenet. There is no Cillian Murphy, but there is Michael Caine.
Oh. Hey, there we go. You got to have Cillian or Caine.
And also some bonus Fiona Dory for you.
Oh, all right, there you go. That's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
But Tenet is one of those movies where, I don't think either of us have been massively excited beyond just sort of the curiosity you get when you see a film that is very vague in nature, with an interesting cast list, and it's kind of made me recent weeks reassess my opinion of Chris Nolan. The story of his on-set discipline, that it just comes across as like twatty rather than artsy or motivational, that we covered a few weeks ago.
Which I think is the sort of result of most directors and artists who seek to come across as artistic and motivational. They just come across like a bit of a dick.
I'm by no means a particular fan of David S. Goyer, the man, but he has co-written some really good screenplays, as evidenced by 2 screenplays he wrote in a row in a series with Chris Nolan and his brother, so with the Nolans. When I say the Nolans, don't get confused, people of a certain age. I'm talking about Chris Nolan and his brother.
Colleen wasn't involved in this, right?
No, Colleen. No. But then when they took over to write the 3rd entry of this series, all of their kind of preset structural flaws and hiccups boiled to the surface. And just the more I think about it, the more I'm like, why he, or at least this is the perception of himself that he gives off through all this pissing and moaning about Tenet's release during a fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
The perception of himself he seems to be giving off is that I'm an artist and you all need to respect that I'm an artist. So watch my work. It's like, Chris, I say this with the utmost respect as someone who makes and works in entertainment. Like, this stuff is important, yes. It's wonderful. It can change lives. It can tell stories. It can start conversations. But you know what's more important? People are fucking dying from a pandemic that spreads to people's lungs. So maybe, just maybe, hold your stinking horses and wait to release your big IMAX blockbuster next year. For the love of shit, hold off. It will be... Next year will not be short of spaces in the movie calendar now. Because things that were going to come out next year are all going to be coming out the year after.
This is what Chris Nolan thinks of that statement.
Oh, don't show me a picture of him on an iPad. Actually, angle it with the bottom of the iPad facing me a bit more than the top. That's hilarious. He looks like...
That's his IMDb pick. He looks like he's just smelt of something a bit funky on his top lip. If
you tilt the top of it away from me, he sort of looks like if Brendan Fraser was murdered by ingestion of continuous Twinkies. Like if someone force-fed Brendan Fraser Twinkies for a month and then just left the corpse. That's what Nolan looks like when you tilt him that way. It's magical. You all have heard of No Neck Ed? This is Too Much Twinkie Chris.
What's going to happen if Tenet doesn't come out this year? Well, you've heard of Elf on the Shelf. Get ready for Nolan on the dole. And
Jesus. Well, you probably can tell from the title and the thumbnail of this bloody thing. It's made us go back to watch possibly Nolan's, arguably his most popular work. Like, you have your Inceptions.
I don't think there's any arguably about it. I think this is his hands down. His
Memento is still a massive cult favourite, especially, Then there are films that people don't tend to hop on as much, like your Prestiges and stuff. People don't go on about those as much.
Prestige is good, man.
Prestige is pretty sweet, but it also has its flaws. You know what? We'll do like a nitpick episode on it at some point, because I would like to revisit it.
Well, I think this is the biggest nitpick I've got, and I'll say this before we get into any detail on either of these movies. Christopher Nolan's films are impeccably constructed to be exciting and gripping the first time you watch them, but they do not. They do not stand up to multiple rewatches over long periods of time.
Which is why he wants you to go watch it in IMAX for your first time.
You've got to go watch it in IMAX.
He wants it to be an event.
Because he realises that when you get it on home media and then you watch it a few times, you can be like, hang on.
We are, of course, focusing this time on the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
3 films released in 2005, 2008, and 2012, starring Christian Bale as the titular superhero Batman Begins.
He's constantly beginning.
Never
follows through.
And Michael Caine as Altruism Pennyworth.
Never. And other people as well.
Gotta teach me the Russian for apply your own bloody suntan lotion. I had to subtitle that line. I realised on this viewing I've never understood what the fuck he's saying.
You've never understood that line?
I've never understood it. I've understood suntan lotion, but I've never understood the front bit. I don't know what it is. It's something about the orchestral mix at that point, because you've got Zimmer's in the mix, isn't he? Zimmer's the scorer for these movies.
Yeah.
And by that point, you've got that dun 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 dun, like that grand, hey, we're going on an adventure. And then you cut to Morgan Freeman in a lobby, and you're like, Hans, not sure that was the score we needed for that. I know he's going off in a little plane from the boat, but also, Alfred, no offence, mate. No offence.
No offence.
Like, treat people with respect, but you are not, I repeat, you are not fucking reluctant to apply suntan lotion
to the entirety of the Russian ballet.
To the entirety of the Russian ballet team on that boat. You are not reluctant to do that, Alfred. You are an elderly man at the beck and call of an irritating billionaire.
He is, isn't he?
Who doesn't give you any free time. You are more than allowed to be a little bit excited about the fact that you're hanging out with a load of gorgeous performers for a couple of hours on a boat. Treat him with respect, Alfred. Don't be a dirty bastard. But it's human. It's human, my friend. Anyway, we're skipping ahead a film. And we are covering 2 films this week.
Yes.
We've basically revisited for this podcast. First time in a while for me. The first 2 films of the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, first time in a while for me as well.
Yeah, why? Because we could talk about these in an hour. We absolutely can. The next one is going to take more than an hour to talk about.
Also, I can't bear the thought of watching all 3 of Nolan's Batman films in 1 week, because they are about a week long each.
Well, also,
it's so long.
3 years between these 2, 4 years between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, so a gap is probably worth it for thinking. Plus, also, the next one starts 8 years later, but we'll get into that next.
Well, that's the thing as well. It was like he had to go out. Warner Brothers had to let him go off and make Inception in between, because they were just like, please come and finish the Batman trilogy for us. We'll give you anything we want. You want somebody to make a film? Here's all the money.
I want to turn a hotel corridor. I want to turn the corridor.
Have a hotel. Have a whole hotel, Chris. Just please come back and do another Batman for us, please.
I want to lift a city street up. Before we start, I have a weird theory about that.
Okay.
So we've taken the piss recently when the last Tenet trailer dropped and everything, and we said last week, we made a joke saying, if you really want to watch Tenet right now, just watch the last 25 minutes of Doctor Strange.
But that's Inception.
But also, Inception, the bloody dream stuff, the city streets folding in on themselves and everything, that happens in Doctor Strange. I think he did that in Inception. Derrickson homaged / well, he didn't really pinch it, because he was basing it off of Ditko panels, like stuff like cityscapes, like folding in.
I don't know if Ditko's ever done that particular image, but the idea of the shapes folded in on themselves is a very Doctor Strange and Ditko specific imagery. But like city streets specifically, I don't think he's done. But I think like that imagery is sort of abstract enough that to use it is not in one project is not necessarily cribbing or homaging another project.
Oh, no, not at all. But I think Nolan's petty enough to have seen Doctor Strange and gone, wait a minute, I did the folding streets. Well, all right then, you fucker. I'm going to do this. We operate in time as it works in reverse around us for a whole film.
Let's be clear on this. Nolan is petty enough to have never seen a comic book movie. Particularly not a comic book movie produced by Marvel Studios.
You did it. You fucking paraphrased the Tim Burton quote. You did it. Oh my God. Right. We're here to talk about Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. So to get in the mood, I'm going to be eating the darkest thing I could find. Well, I say darkest because they didn't have the straightforward one. So technically this is actually quite a sweet, lovely version. But I want to be eating some Bourneville.
Ooh, Bourneville.
Yeah, except it's Bourneville rum and raisin. It's old Jamaica rum and raisin. So it's not like dark and gritty, because it's dark and gritty. But, oh, what was that? Oh, that was nice. Hopefully. I've never had it before, so we're going to see if this is nice.
And raisin.
Yeah. Rum and raisin.
You randy bandersnatch.
But first, let's smash a misconception that all of cinema adopted off the back of Batman Begins.
All right.
In Nolan's defense and Goya's defense and everyone's defense working on this film,
yes,
this is not a dark reboot of Batman. It's a strip it back to basics reboot of Batman.
Especially in comparison to The Dark Knight, it's actually not that dark. It's
and the world at large has adopted it as, well, it's gritty and realistic.
It's really not.
No, it's just stripped back. It's the Batman Year One to The Dark Knight Returns. Like, that's what it is.
And it is like it is weird how it sort of condenses and merges certain Oh, you don't look happy with that, Cocker.
It's a lot more rum than raisin.
Oh, save it for me.
Sorry, go on.
It's kind of cool how it sort of it condenses and merges certain beats of Year One, so that when you get things happening, you're like, oh yeah, that's a bit like that bit in Year One. But not. But it's not really an adaptation of Year One.
Yeah, that's something that this one and The Dark Knight do very well. They clearly have absorbed elements of certain stories and woven them into the basket that is the film. Whereas The Dark Knight Rises, again, we'll get into it next week, but The Dark Knight Rises very transparently is just like that from there, that from there, that from there, that from there, that from there. Just do it. Why? Because they did it in the comic.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like, Year One's kind of the only obvious one to me in this, where it's like, focus on the mob.
Yeah.
Big use of the mob as the main antagonist, essentially. Yeah. Like the mafia is the antagonistic force. The Falcone family.
Ra's al Ghul being
Sorry. You. I'm sorry. I've got to stop you there, Matt. You used the correct pronunciation there.
We're
talking about the Nolan film. God.
Ra's al Ghul being involved.
God, my tits so much.
Would be like, oh well, maybe it's but it doesn't is involved, but it doesn't really harken back to any particular, like Ra's al Ghul's story.
Yeah.
And
there's no head of the demon.
Yeah, it's no head of the demon, and it doesn't really get into that aspect. It's very much a sort of in name only version of.
I mean, they even changed the name.
Yeah.
They're the League of Shadows, not the League of Assassins.
Yeah, and also I think consistently mispronounce it.
Yeah, but I think that's on purpose in the narrative for people who are unfamiliar with the concept of Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, because it's that whole thing of we're peacekeeping, we do this, that, and the other. Like, the world needs that force looking out for it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, they train Batman essentially, and he's gonna be Batman because of this. Fantastic. And then your final trial is you've got to kill someone. So I think the reason they held off on League of Assassins is so Bruce isn't like, yeah, I'll train with the League of Assassins.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
Goal that I don't want. You know, it's an odd one. On the Blu-ray, the Blu-ray copy has the 2-disc DVD special features on it, and one of them is, do you remember when they do like bios on DVD extras and they'd be semi-animated, so like the text would like write in.
Oh yeah.
Every time you click next page, the disc would go, because it was basically
spooling up the next frame.
Scene, next scene. They had one for Ra's al Ghul, and they had one for Henry Ducard, and they were separate. And the Ra's al Ghul one, the first like page, is basically comic book facts about Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Ra's al Ghul pictured on the whole thing is the Ken Watanabe decoy at the beginning.
Yeah.
Ken Watanabe, again, great actors, just like, what the? This film is full of really good actors that you don't realise are in it, then you go, oh shit, Joe Martin's in this.
I had this exact same moment when I watched it, whenever you watched it, I was like, oh fuck yeah, Joe Martin's in this. I forgot about that. She did it for like 2 seconds, but like...
Oh yeah. But it's like, there's the Doctor. Holy shit. Just popping up, saying all that. I mean, Rutger Hauer, I keep forgetting Rutger Hauer's in this.
Yeah. Rutger Hauer.
Because it's just, and this is a problem we'll get into, you feel like a lot of great actors are cast because they're great actors, and they know, like, right, this part isn't particularly huge, so we're going to cast someone really good to bring an A game to it so that it doesn't just fade into the background. But then what they give them is so small or so little or so uninteresting that you sort of feel like these great actors are being wasted a little bit. They come in, they do their thing, and then they go, and you're like, oh, okay, there we are.
I think that speaks to my sort of biggest problem with the Nolan trilogy in general, and it's definitely more of a problem in Batman Begins than it is in The Dark Knight, but a lot of it, and this is going to sound a bit weird. Things only
Not enough nude.
Not enough nude.
Yeah, not enough nude.
Not enough nudes. Send more nudes, please. Nolan nudes.
Nolan nudes.
God, that's a dark subreddit I don't want to go on.
We're going to hell. We're going to hell. We're already there.
We're already in hell, let's be honest. Is that things don't happen in these films, or things only happen in these films because the script says they happen.
Yeah, nothing feels like it's organic.
Like, look at the relationship between Bruce and Rachel. Sort of love interest. In none of it, they tell you about it.
Yeah, we're told,
but it never really.
There's a romance.
It never really feels like a romance. Like, the dialogue only sort of. The dialogue's very detached. Like, it'll sound natural 1 minute, and then all of a sudden, the next line, someone will drop in this proverb out of nowhere.
Every scene feels like it's the dialogue moment in the middle of a montage.
Yeah.
Like when you have a montage, and it feels like training montage, and in the middle, you have Mr. Miyagi suddenly imparts wisdom in the middle, like to correct Daniel's son, and then the music blares back up and the montage carries on.
But that's every dialogue scene in a Nolan film.
So many of the scenes in this movie, and this is like a 2 hour,
just over 2 hours. I think it's 2 hours 10 or something.
Oh, yeah, I might be 2.5 with credits. Maybe
Dark Knight's like straight up 2.5, a little bit longer than 2.5. But this I think is about 2:10, 2:15 maybe.
Not many scenes are longer. And when I say scenes, I mean like here's what's happening in this moment. Characters talking, conversation. Not many scenes are longer than 2 minutes.
No.
It's really strange. I think that's why scenes like, and again we'll get to it, but I think that's why scenes like the interrogation room in Dark Knight stand out.
Because they are so long,
suddenly they're a bit longer. It's like, oh yeah. Batman Begins, the longest scene to me, to my memory, was and I might be wrong, I might be hyperbole here, but the longest scenes to me were Henry Ducard approaching Bruce in the cell at the beginning, because it felt slow enough as like after this little fist fight outside, it's suddenly, and now we're going to talk.
That's a fairly solid dialogue scene, yeah.
And then it builds up. And then the scene in Flashback 48, because Memento meets Quentin Tarantino, where Bruce confronts Falcone in the restaurant.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
But they're probably also, like if we timed them, they're probably also about 2 minutes at most. And it's just because the pacing of the scene is more like methodical. Nolan doesn't sit still, which we now know from his on-set instructions.
If you're sitting, you're not working.
Piss off, Nolan. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Anyway, so for those who have no idea what the hell we're talking about, long and the short, Batman Begins is a reboot of the Batman film franchise. It has nothing to do with the previous 4 entries, although it's ambiguous enough that you can imagine they were probably originally making it with make it so this could be a prequel. Because at this point, there hadn't really been a reboot of a superhero franchise before. This was the first one where it was like, we're starting from absolute scratch.
It doesn't look as modern as Batman, as the Dark Knight.
Oh, that's true.
It looks a bit more Art Deco.
It's definitely set in present day, because there's references to certain technologies and stuff.
Yeah.
But the older films, especially the 2 Burton ones, are set in a timeless kind of thing anyway, which fits in with the Art Deco. I mean, when you have that sweeping shot of Gotham in this with the train, the first kind of wide shot of Gotham, you're like, oh, that's kind of comic booky. That sort of looks a bit like if we'd gone above the city street level of the Burton films.
Yeah.
Like that's what it looks like. Okay, fair enough. We're obviously not in the Schumacher universe because there's no giant naked Grecian statues holding up neon buildings.
Sadly.
Sadly, yeah, no, I agree. And what's really weird is this film geographically shows Gotham to be one thing, and then the next 2 films, well, the next film kind of goes, yeah, forget that.
Yep.
That's not Gotham.
And then the next film does it again.
But then the third one goes, yeah, no, it's more like the first film, but we have bridges to separate things now. You're like, wait, what? But anyway.
Yeah, it's because they were all filmed in different cities. There's no consistency as to how Gotham looks.
First film with a big old whacking Wayne Tower sticking up, which was much appreciated.
Yeah.
This is the story of Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
who loses his parent, a billionaire child who loses his parents to a random crime in an alleyway one night. He grows up petulant and angry. He decides to take his vengeance out on the person who killed his parents and then changes his mind. He realizes that death is not the answer. He takes that rage and travels the world, learning the criminal mind, always partaking in crimes where he himself is not a criminal, which is kind of charming, but also really convoluted when you think about it.
Yeah.
Eventually, he does get arrested and is approached by a man called Henry Ducard, who works for the legendary Ra's al Ghul in the mountains. And they run a thing called the League of Shadows, which is essentially a vigilante cult. And they're going to, we're going to make the world better. And the world doesn't know that it needs to be made better. And that's what we do. We get in there and we look after things and we get rid of injustice. And it's like, oh, great. And he trains with them and he learns about their drugs, where they drug themselves up and confront their fears and hallucinations.
Go quicker, Chris. This is almost taking as long as the film.
And then he's asked to kill a man and he refuses to do it. And the whole temple comes down and Ra's al Ghul is supposedly killed and he saves Ducard and then buggers off back to Gotham and becomes Batman, and using his butler Alfred and Lucius Fox, who's a brilliant guy who's head of tech and R&D at Wayne Enterprises. He creates the Batman persona and he takes on the mob, has to deal with the unrequited, not unrequited love, but the sort of disrupted love and relationship with his childhood best friend, because everyone presumed him dead, and she's like, where the fuck have you been, mate?
Yeah.
Especially because he doesn't say anything to her for the first week of being back, and then they just bump into each other, and it's like, oh, Bruce, you prick.
While he's being a weird playboy, while he's doing his weird playboy act.
Yeah, which, again, this film, I think, is the only one that really indulges in that. There's a bit of it in Dark Knight, but this film really indulges in it in a way that was that's the animated series on film. I appreciated it. He's a big, dumb, airheaded playboy.
Yeah.
All right, I buy it, because no way is anyone going to look at Batman and this Bruce Wayne and go, they're the same person. I completely buy it. Well done film. Different from how the Keaton version is, where it's he's weird and aloof.
Yeah.
And Batman is obviously something he'd never do. In this one, it's we got to distract from the fact that he is a built, handsome guy by making him look like a fucking moron.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no one buys his Batman.
Which
so
they
I'm
do quite well, I think.
Sure. They do it really, really well. And he has to deal with the Scarecrow, who's using a familiar fear-based toxin, and eventually the re-emergence of the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul, who it turns out was Ducard all along.
Ah!
And Gotham's going to be destroyed by a fear bomb, and to make a statement, and he stops them, and that's the end of the film.
Fear bomb, that's the best description.
Yeah, what's it called? What's it actually called? Something disruptive.
They've dumped a bunch of the fear drug into Gotham's water supply, and they're using this fancy gadget to vaporize the water supply.
It's just something emitter.
It's a microwave emitter.
Yeah. Microwave emitter, that's it, yeah.
To vaporize the water supply, and that'll distribute the fear gas around the whole city. And they put it on a train, so it goes through the whole city, and they got to stop a train, and there's all that business. And Wayne Enterprises made it, but Wayne didn't know about it because he was dead at the time. And so it's just all that stuff. Batman Begins is pretty good. I don't want it to sound like I don't like these movies, because I do.
Oh, no, I enjoy it. I enjoy this one a lot. But I've got a few notes, actually. Go on.
But I do have to say that both this and The Dark Knight suffer the more you rewatch them.
The more you think about them.
Yeah, because it's not.
I think a rewatch is okay, but it's the more you start to think about what you're watching.
And it's not even because that there's anything particularly wrong with them. It's just because of the way the movies are constructed. It's like I say, things happen because that's what the script says happens. For such long and dense films, there's not actually a ton of character development in them. So a lot of it just things just keep happening, and
I popped down here that it's a character piece. It's not an action film. It's a character piece with action beats.
But it doesn't actually have a lot of character in it. Weirdly,
except for Bruce. Bruce is the only person, and even then, it's sort of because it's the first 50 minutes intercuts between near present day with him training with the League of Shadows.
Oh yeah, of course.
childhood Bruce with Thomas and Martha Wayne. And this is also the first film where you actually really get to know his mum and dad, and you go, these are good
Well,
people.
his dad, not really his mum.
Well, his dad more so, but you get the whole, like, these are loving people. Like, these guys care deeply for their kid, and their dad especially, like, really sets up value. This is the first time where in a film they've given any thingy to the parents, but like say specifically the dad, that make you go, oh, this is why he misses them. I mean, obviously you'd miss if your parents were taken from you like that at a young age, but like the things his dad teaches him, like, do you know what I mean?
But only his dad, because
like, okay.
as you can see from other films, Nolan is only ever concerned with fathers.
Only ever concerned with fathers. Only ever concerned with the male leads. I'll say this. Do you remember how when you watch Inception, Ellen Page is the lead, and then halfway through she's not the lead anymore for some reason?
Yeah.
Yep. Just saying. The Prestige. It's about two dudes fighting and talking to other dudes, and also Scarlett Johansson's here, maybe. It's oh god. But anyway, so this is the closest superhero movie I can compare this to, because this is not a superhero movie, except it is. Like it isn't until it is. It's bare bones Batman, and then it becomes a character piece, and then they go, "Oh shit, we need to put some comic book stuff in here." So they put it in occasionally. It's the closest film I can compare it to is Iron Man, but the difference is Iron Man, which again is it's a character movie with the occasional action beat.
Yeah.
The reason Iron Man works better is because it lingers. You see a character grow and change over the course of the movie, and actively grow, learn, try to change, and change. Like you see Tony like go, I can't be this anymore. I'm going to be this, and you watch him take that journey to it.
Yeah.
Also, what Favreau did with Iron Man, and it's come to light a lot more in recent years through interviews. Almost as though they were like at the time, don't tell people this is how we did it. And in recent years, it's like, fine, tell them. Jeff Bridges, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Robert Downey Jr. have talked about like 90% of Iron Man is improvised.
Yeah, I can believe
like,
that.
They had notes on what to say and specific lines and certain shots and set pieces, but what do we all remember from Iron Man? Why did we as young adults and adults fall in love with it? Because of the chemistry between Tony and Pepper. Like, the back and forth of all that stuff was like the most enjoyable. Just watching Tony developing this cool as fuck motor car for the body. Like, that was, and so much of that is improvised. Like the puppeteers doing the robot arms were just improvising bits with Robert Downey Jr. and like 20 of those bits are in the film.
Yeah.
It's like, that's organic and it grows and feels natural. Whereas, like you say, it's an IKEA cabinet instruction booklet.
Yeah, it's
like
so
every
mechanical.
Scene in Batman Begins is efficient.
Yeah, I can't imagine that on set with Christopher Nolan there's ever the opportunity to improvise something, or sort of like ad-lib something. No. I bet he's the kind of director who gets really pissed off if you throw in a change on one of the lines or a little bit of something.
He can't cut around action for shit. That's something I learned in this movie. He can't cut around action. Fight scenes are barely coherent.
Yeah.
The fight scenes rely on the surroundings to tell you what's going on. Like with the tussle with Ra's al Ghul in the carriage at the end, when they're in the cockpit and the passenger, the bloody driver's cabinet, driver's cockpit of the train. I can't tell what move they're performing on each other at all.
No.
But I know that someone's head has hit like the panel, because you see a close up of the panel at one point as like someone's head goes down. It's like, Nolan, what you do? Fight choreographers obviously came up with sequences. They're not just coming up with stuff out. Pulling. Christian Bale's not just pulling taekwondo out of his arse.
But it's very much about how they're shot and edited. Which,
and he can't edit it. Like, he can't edit it, and he can't choose the right shots to show it off. It's like the Cats movie, where it's like, brand new choreography. Oh, amazing, cool, all right.
Let's shoot it all in wide.
Yeah, well, no, but like even just shooting it in wide without James fucking Corden in the foreground or whatever, like, would at least be like, look at this choreography.
Yeah.
Whereas instead, they're just kind of in the background of close-ups, and you're like, if you've worked hard at this, show it. Show it to us.
Show us your nipples.
Oh, talking to that scene, I've written here, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you, is badass hyperbole and makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. He's also killed a lot of people
bad.
by that point. Like the entire League of Shadows at the start of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They have not. They've not survived.
I won't kill this man.
The decoy dies, and it's his fault.
But I'll burn your entire house down. And also when Raz is like, you burned my house and left me for dead. Now we're even. Well, he didn't leave you for dead, did he? He left you with someone to look after you. Who then says,
"But it's a badass line, Matt.
I will tell him that you saved his life." And then it's like, "Oh, you burnt my house down and left me for dead." Yes, he did burn your house down. That's true, but he did not leave you for dead.
Yeah, that was the whole point of that entire scene of like, I'll let him know you saved him.
Yeah, but nope. I will. What was the other thing that really booked? This movie's got a very, and I think it's less of a problem in The Dark Knight, although it's still there. And this is kind of a problem with Batman as a whole for me as I get older and wiser, allegedly. It's got a very, very black and white view of right and wrong. Yeah. And like criminals as sort of not people who have to be fought.
Yeah.
And like not a societal. And I think it's kind of inherent in the story that you're telling, but it never sort of confronts that. It just keeps telling you that he's got to beat up criminals.
His crusade seems very selfish.
It is super selfish, as you know.
Like in the comics and the animated series, they really reassert the idea of he did this at first out of a feeling of revenge and resentment, and then turned it into a mission to not let any other child have to go through what he went through, which is also part of his like no killing rule. He's like, I'm not going to take a life. I'm not going to rip a life out of this world, because even if they're like a bad guy with a bomb strapped to him, whatever, like threatening to kill people, they know people who will miss them, whose lives will be ruined by them being killed, by them being murdered. Do you know what I mean? He's like, that's not what I'm about. Batman is like, Batman will only ever kill if it's some kind of like inhumanoid fucking lab experiment that, you know, is do you know what I mean? Like he's never gonna turn around to Clayface and be like, I'm going to murder you, because, you know, Basil Karlo / Matt Hagen, like they are a person, and they know people, and those people's lives will be hurt or affected if they die, like, you know, which is why the Joker is so perplexing, because it's like, no one will miss it if this motherfucker goes. No one will miss it if you just kill him. And he's like, no, because that's against my moral code. That's the point. It makes me no better than him if I take his life. Whereas in this movie, it's very much like they give you Joe Chill in court. We see Joe Chill in court.
Yeah.
Because of course this marks the movie debut of Joe Chill. That character hadn't been in a movie up to this point.
Yeah, it had been Jack Napier before that, or they don't talk about it.
Yeah, so we see him, and you see him on trial, and this is with late teens, early 20s Bruce, and you know he's late teens, early 20s because Christian Bale's hair is styled like a boy.
But the rest of him is chiseled like a man.
Well, that's the thing. His face and features are too chiseled and gaunt for him to look like a young man.
Yeah,
like he looks like he's in his 30s. So it's always, I always find that very odd. Like Katie Holmes at least kind of has a very cherubic face, and she could easily be in her 20s through to her 40s, and you not really know unless she says, because she's got very young features.
Yeah.
Whereas Christian Bale is like, no, you're in your late 30s, right? Surely.
Surely
he sits there in the thing, and Joe Chill gives a very genuine like bit of dialogue. Like he's basically like, they're looking at releasing him, aren't they, like 10 years after the fact or what have you, and he clearly regrets what he did. He can't believe he took 2 lives that night. He feels fucking horrible. And then there's that bit of the judge goes, which is a brilliant moment of tension, and I think it's this is really well done, where it's focusing on Chill, and Wayne is in soft focus in the background, and the judge says, I understand there's a member of the Wayne family here today.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say? And you see Bruce stand up in soft focus, and they let the camera like just linger on the reaction of the actor playing Joe Chill, and he's doing phenomenal work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see all the regret and the fact that he's about to like face the child whose life he ruined, and Bruce just walks out of the courthouse, and it's like, that is fucking great.
We never get anything like that again for the rest of it.
But then we never get anything like that again. And Bruce immediately is in the hallway with a gun, like, I'm going to shoot him. It's like, right, hang on. For fuck's sake. I don't want Bruce Wayne to necessarily come away from that and be like, I'm going to give him a hug. He's right. He didn't do it on purpose. Like, he's not going to be like that. But he's not going to be, I'm still going to kill him. I'm still going to kill him. Unless his motivation is completely selfish, which in this movie it absolutely is. I mean, for fuck's sake, Alfred declares him dead because he genuinely doesn't know if he's alive or not. He doesn't tell his best friend that he's leaving town. They set it up that it's an act of desperation, like he has to get out of town because Falcone's now going to sort of like fuck with him. And they sort of make a point of him saying, like, your friend in the DA's office or your butler.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he's doing it to keep them safe, but you could literally just pop home, tell Alfred that you're going to leave town, and leave like a note for Rachel. Or, do you know what I mean? It's. I know they do it for the dramatic effect so that he can suddenly come back, but I don't know. For me, the thought that Bruce Wayne disappeared for like 15 years and then came back is more suspicious than him going to school elsewhere and just glumping around and going on a massive gap year as a billionaire, which is in most adaptations his cover story. He just fucks off around to Europe and he's gonna have a great time, he's gonna get high, he's gonna fuck a lot of people, he's gonna hang out with models. That's the alibi, while really he's like training and learning with the bloody, like learning with like Lady Shiva and Zatanna's dad, and you know, like he's training himself to
and
be
the real Henri Ducard,
eventually the Batman. Yeah.
The actual world's greatest detective, not just someone with a bad moustache.
So it seems really odd that he's, like you say, it's black and white. But then, considering how black and white it is, for him to be like, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. So you're killing him. You're flat out killing him.
You're killing him by inaction.
Just, then again, maybe Raz. Maybe he just accepts, like, well, I guess this is the end for me. Hib, 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 hib. Also, they never really elaborate. Is he I guess he was the only head of the League of Shadows then?
Yeah. But there must have been someone before.
The way that Nolan adapts Ra's al Ghul living forever with the Lazarus pits, renewing his health and everything every time he's severely injured or every few decades. Nolan's interpretation of that is, no, it's one guy, but the person who everyone assumes it is a decoy every time.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, Ra's al Ghul was killed, but wait, no, there he is again. And it's like, oh, right, so you want people to think that it's the same person. Interesting, then, that you pick an Asian cast member and you give them the same facial hair, and you go, it's the same person. It's like,
is it though?
What are you trying to say there, Mr. Nolan? Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't flame him now. Gotham is, according to Raz in that last scene in particular, America's favourite city. He calls it that at one point. Because he's saying, like, one of America's favourites. Yeah. But I've written here, but that means the outside world is unaware of the corruption. If it's indeed America's favourite city, the outside world doesn't look at it as a corrupt cesspool then. They look at it as, oh, it's great. And that it's really a shithole. So how does this send a message to the world that, like, the corrupt establishments are going to be torn apart for the sake of justice? It just looks like a terrorist attack on a successful metropolitan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the League of Shadows plan. Because in the comics, for those who don't know, League of Assassins, their whole thing is basically, this world is unjust. It's full of rapists and murderers and arsonists and corrupt lawmen and paedophiles. And what we're going to do is we are going to find cities that are rife with crime, and we're going to fucking wipe that city off the map.
All right, mate.
And then we're going to do it to the next city that's like that. And we're going to do it to the next city until all that's left are societies that are grateful that they've been given the chance, with our leadership, to bring about a better age. So essentially, they are, if Batman were a murderer and didn't mind collateral damage in the wake of what he's doing to get rid of bad people.
Yeah.
Like all Batman's best villains are in some way a mirror to him, and Ra's al Ghul is basically, here's what would happen if he had power, influence, and the ability to do this forever. Like, this is, Ra's Raish's Venom to Batman Spider-Man. It's like, this is the big, exaggerated, evil as fuck version of you.
Yeah.
Who then is like, you're going to be my heir. Like, you're going to take over from me. Like, I can only resurrect myself so many times before it's going to take its toll on me, and I want to know that my job has begun and the work will be done, and I want you to take charge. Whereas in this, it's more, we want you to join us. It'll be a laugh. Oh, you didn't join us? Well, I guess we'll go fucking attack your city next then. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of petty motivation in this.
Yeah, again, it's like nothing's got any weight of character behind it. And especially the central romance. It just falls completely flat for me.
I feel so bad for... We'll get to this in The Dark Knight as well. I feel so bad for Katie Holmes. I feel so bad for the female leads in these movies. I wrote it, everyone speaks like the audience needs spoon-feeding the subtext.
Yep.
There's a...
Insert Dark Place clip here.
They're all cowards. I mean, there's literally a bit at the end where Katie Holmes says, like, there'll be a time where you don't have to wear the mask, but this is your mask. And she's like, you know, caressing his face and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's Bruce Wayne. And it's like, yeah, that's the subtext.
Yeah.
That is the subtext, that Bruce Wayne is the fake identity. Like, who everyone sees as Bruce Wayne is the fake identity, and Batman is who he really is. Like, but you're taking time to say this, and I'm not hearing any of Rachel in this.
No.
I'm just hearing Nolan going, you see, Bruce Wayne is actually the mask, and Batman is the real man.
But it comes out of nowhere. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why would she feel like that about him? From the interaction she's had with him up till that point. It just doesn't...
It's not what I am underneath. But it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
Okay.
He says that earlier as Bruce, doesn't he?
No, she says it to him as Bruce.
She says it to him.
That's how she knows that he's Batman, because
Why would
Batman
she
says
say
that.
it to him? Like, what is it? It's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you. It's like, hang on. What a weirdly specific thing to say just because your friend's being a bit of a jerk. Like, what a weirdly specific thing
he's
to say.
saying, like, oh, all this stuff, because it's after he's coming out of the hotel, after he's spotted it, and he's been swimming in the lobby. And he's like, oh, it's not who I am.
This isn't me.
This isn't me. And she's like, but then she drops that phrase, and it's like, that's not something somebody would say. That's a proverb. That's not actual...
There's a few of them in this film.
Yeah.
Why do we fall, Bruce?
So we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Actually, it's called gravity.
Again,
that's why we fall. It's gravity's a thing.
Like, that's a great mantra, but like, don't confuse it by adding a bunch of others in there.
Yeah.
And show a moment where he's at his absolute lowest, and then he picks himself back up and does something with it.
But it kind of doesn't.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Into the Spider-Verse uses that exact same analogy, but it bookmarks the film with it. Like, bookends the film with it. Like, I always get back up, says Chris Pine's Spider-Man at the beginning. And then Miles at the very fucking end, when he's essentially facing death, having been beaten to a pulp, sees his dad, realises what he's doing, what it takes to be Spider-Man, and gets the fuck back up.
Yeah.
And it's like, bookends the film. It's great. In this, you've got, why do we fall? It's not who I am underneath. You ever dance with the devil in the pill movie?
Yeah.
Like, it's,
if only we had that.
It feels like they're just throwing something like that in there.
Well, it's also jarring with things like the moment where Gordon sees the Batmobile drive away, and it goes back to him. He's like, "I gotta get me one of those," and it just feels completely out of place.
Yeah,
and it's not. That is a thing that was in the script before. I'm assuming this is all conjecture. That's the thing that was in the script before Gary Oldman was cast, before they had any idea of how Gordon was going to be. But because Nolan isn't interested in how the actors inhabit the characters, he's only interested that the things in the script happen. It's still in there. I think Nolan's probably a bit like Robert Zemeckis in that he's actually not that interested in actors. He probably would be happier working in animation where he doesn't have to deal with people in such a such an involved way. Yeah, he can just get him to record dialogue, and then
what is it
doesn't
that
have
Raz
to position him.
Just before they turn the microwave on, he gives a one-liner that's really fucking stupid.
It's trying to spread the word, and the word is panic.
Yeah. Why would he say that? He's never acted like that in any of the previous scenes. It was like, it's time to spread the word. And the word is panic. It's like, you've not acted like that in any previous scene in this movie. Like, you're not a one-liner villain. You're not a poster quote villain. The fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I just... I don't know. The standouts for me, there are 3 cast members who stand out the most as like, you guys made this work, and as a result, I'm completely behind your characters. I mean, Bale does a damn fine job, but like, there are 3 actors who like, I go, this. And it's Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox.
Yep.
Like, his role in the script is functional. Morgan Freeman turns it into just that, but with enough of a twinkle that you're like, I like this guy.
Yeah, it's his Freeman charm.
I really like this guy.
It's his Morgan Freeman charm TM.
That's my charm. My Morgan Freeman charm. Trademark. Cillian Murphy is Jonathan Crane.
Yeah.
Because he's in a comic book movie.
Yeah, no one else knows it, but
yeah,
he is.
Everyone else is acting like this is straight drama, which, you should take it seriously, but like, at the end of the day, he's an asylum doctor who wears a sack on his head.
Yeah.
And turns his victims insane with deodorant. Like, he knows what he is, so he's having a blast playing him.
That's why that scene with Falcone in the interrogation room is great, when he's quote unquote assessing him, and he just seems sort of like loses patience. And he's like, this fucking guy. All right, and then he pulls the mask out.
I mean, just choices of line reading. Like, this was the same year as the Wes Craven film Red Eye, which is a beautiful, tight, like 71-minute movie where Rachel McAdams gets on a red-eye flight and she meets a passenger played by Cillian Murphy, and it becomes clear that like he has a murderous intent, and like eventually when they get off the plane, like he pursues her and she has to fucking fight for her life and kill him. It's got one of my favourite like injuries in a horror film ever, where he's crawling up the stairs after her. She's like trying to get up. She kicks him in the thigh, and her stiletto sticks in his leg. He screams, and as he's fumbling, like trying to move it, but obviously screaming every time he moves it, she just leans down real quick, unbuckles both of her shoes, gets her feet out, and legs her down the hallway, leaving him with the stiletto stuck in his leg. It's so good. But it's the same year, and in both of them, he's reveling in playing a villain. And making choices where it's like, oh, you're having fun. And in this, like, it's just the line reads. It's the weird, like the whole, what is it? It's the Batman. And it's just like, why are you doing it that way? Oh, because it looked fucking great in a trailer. That's why. And I don't remember if they used it in a trailer, but they definitely used it in a TV spot in the UK. I remember that in a TV spot around the time this coming out. But also, that clearly fucking inspired the opening titles of the adjacent animated release, The Batman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Called The Batman. Because the end of the title sequence, this voice goes, the Batman. It's like the last chord. And that was released at the same time as this, not as a tie-in, but obviously as a, well, this is not for kids strictly, so here's a kids thing to sell toys. And it's a pretty great show, actually. So Cillian Murphy's a blast. And Tom Wilkinson as Carmine Falcone is brilliantly boo-hissable. Like, he's a nasty piece of work. And it's sort of the first time Carmine Falcone gets adapted, I think. Really,
I think so.
Even in the animated series, the Falcones get name dropped, but they essentially sort of mash up all of the famous Gotham mobsters into Rupert Thorne. So it's like, oh wow, the Falcones are in this, which again, more year one, more parallels to like Long Halloween, a book that Nolan has definitely read. As we will discuss. Is there anything else you want to say about Batman Big Wins?
No,
Batman
not really.
Beige Wins?
It's like I say, it's mostly pretty good, but it's just difficult for me, like I say, as I get older and wiser, to really buy into Batman as a sort of fully sympathetic character, because it is just, at the root of it, it's a rich white dude dressing himself up in S&M gear and beating poor people. Like, that's what it is.
Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds sexy to me.
Well, and it's kind of just difficult to get away from that,
I think
especially.
You just described my fetish.
I know, right? Especially when this film's like moralizing all over it about how criminals need to be punished and the system doesn't work, and it doesn't jive. It doesn't jive.
it's a brilliant origin and deconstruction of why Batman would become Batman and why someone would do this and how they would do it in particular. But it also removes the fact. It also removes Bruce Wayne's responsibility a little bit.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you read the comics, if you watch the animated series, the third Arkham game in the Rocksteady trilogy kind of is all about this in terms of Batman's story, although convoluted, but it's about this. Batman is not a well man.
No.
Batman is not a... Batman is a very dangerous individual. Yes, he's on the side of the angels, so to put it black and white. Like, he's a good person who wants to save the day and save lives.
Yeah.
But look what he does to do it. Like, you have to... Like, there's a reason he and Superman are a clash of personalities. It's not because, I hate you because you're this, well, I hate you because you're this. It's because Superman looks at Batman and goes like, Bruce, you could be doing a load of good without doing this.
Yeah.
Like, maybe let me, like, and Diana and co, we could do this sort of stuff. And it's like, no, they have to face justice. You're like, oh, okay. The Lego Batman movie does a great job of, like, putting up that he's not quite there. He's not quite on the level of understanding the people whose lives he's saving. And it's the Arkham Knight delves into that with the idea of, like, he's got a bad voice inside his head that, like, points out, you're a bit fucking sadistic. You don't even seem to realize it, mate. Like, I'm here just commenting on it, but, like, you let this happen. You've had boy sidekicks who've been beaten and traumatized and killed and, like, and all because they're all part of your lifestyle, and you don't think this is wrong. Like, you don't stop for a minute and go, what the hell am I doing? It's, I think Batman is more palatable overall in comic book and animated form because you can kind of detach from reality a little bit. Yeah. And you can, the same way you love Bugs Bunny, not because he's relatable, but because, like, he personifies things that you understand and can see and enjoy.
Yeah. But there's something about the sort of...
Batman on the Page does that quite well. In the 70s, Denny O'Neil, he writes Batman knowing full well that we should be rooting for good and justice to win out at the end of the day, but Bruce is not, like... We did not appoint him judge, jury, and executioner, and everyone go, this is great, you should do it this way.
Yeah, he's sort of somewhere in between, and he kind of acknowledges the irony of him doing the things that he does to quote unquote stop criminals by committing more crimes.
That's what Alfred's great for. Alfred's great for that.
Yeah,
like, Alfred is used when the writers are on it. Alfred is used as that voice of reason. Where Alfred's constantly stuck in a difficult position where all he wants to do is make sure that let's face it, his child is going to be safe and okay. A man he loves so much, he wants to make sure that he's going to be all right, and he will do everything he can to make sure he can do what he needs to do safely with as much backup and support as possible. He's there to patch up his wounds, he's there to feed him, he's there to fucking bathe him and clothe him and, like, look after him when he's been beaten to a vegetable pulp by Killer Croc. Like, that's what Alfred's there to do. But at the same time, he wishes Bruce would do anything else with his life. Anything else with his life. He does not want Bruce to do this, but he's going to stand by him because that's what he, like, swore to do. He loves him so much, he's going to support him, but he doesn't want him to do these things. And the Nolan films only really get to that with the third one. Alfred is very much his supporter in this, but that's again because the films take it from a point of view of Bruce Wayne is completely in the right. Whereas the third one finally lets Alfred kind of go, no, fucking no. Mm-hmm. Like, this is ridiculous, and I'm not going to support this, and I'm not going to get behind this. But anyway, we'll get behind characters having weird hold-ups at odd times as we go into the IMAX Spectacular. That's right, boys and girls. Your TV's not broken. It's just doing the big thing. Say,
this is the thing, because it didn't really bother Keeks, but it really bothers me watching it on home release, where the aspect ratio keeps fucking changing all the time. Yeah. It's like, do it in one aspect ratio. Why?
Do you know... it didn't used to bother me on a smaller telly.
No, but on a bigger one.
Now that we've got bigger TV, like naturally, 12 years later, it's more common that everyone has sort of a TV starting at like bloody 40 inches at the very least. It's so much more noticeable going from letterbox to full screen.
Yeah,
it's really, really weird.
Also, especially when most screens are 16:9 at this point. So doing 16:9 for IMAX is great, but then going back to 2.35 to 1 letterbox for the stuff that would normally be in 16:9 is just weird.
Well, you know what we should have done, Matt?
What?
We should be watching this on an IMAX screen.
No, because on an IMAX screen it's the same. It goes from full screen to letterbox on the IMAX screen. It's like,
But you don't notice it though, because you'd have to look up and down all the way.
Yeah, because you got a sore neck. Dark Knight.
I still like this film a lot. I would go so far as to say I still love this film.
Dark Knight holds up super well. Yeah, it's really, really, very, very good indeed. And I think
as time goes by, I'm able to identify the exact reasons why I love it now, as opposed to just I love The Dark Knight. Now I'm like, I love these things about The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I would say of the Nolan trilogy, it's the only one that I would call absolutely essential viewing.
Yeah,
I would say most of that is down. It's not because
I think it's his best film. Like overall,
yeah, probably.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't hold up. It has a few quiet moments, but it's mostly just like, you want to watch a really slick, really like sort of classy crime action film that for 2.5 hours is going to whiz by, and at the end of it you'll be like, wait, that was 2.5 hours.
See, I think it's a bit too long.
You're kidding me. Really? I feel the opposite.
I feel like it's.
I mean, I don't wish it was any longer, but it doesn't.
I feel like it's 2 films.
All right. Okay.
I think like it's a 2-hour long film, and then a half-hour film jammed on the end of it that could be its own thing.
It's the film about Bruce Wayne, Rachel Dawes, Harvey Dent, and Commissioner Gordon, and it's a film about the Joker. Batman versus the Joker.
I mean, just from a structural standpoint.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm saying. Does it feel like those are the two kind of film stories that have been
No. I feel like it,
together,
like narratively, it climaxes and should end after Rachel's death.
And then the follow-on should be the story of Dent and Two-Face.
I get why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But
it feels like a build-up.
Yeah, it feels, and it feels like you're sort of ending there, especially if this was always meant to be a trilogy, because then that's your Empire Strikes Back moment. But then they try and do it again with like, oh, Batman's hated now. It's like, oh, great, but is Batman even cool? Okay. Oh, Two-Face is dead. I don't kill people. I'll never break my rule. Oh, you just killed Harvey. Oops. Better run away.
He was right. Tonight you're going to break your one rule. He did.
Joker was right, yeah.
He did it. The Joker won.
Thematically it works. But,
because it is a downer ending in terms of, the battle for the soul of Gotham. Like, the only thing stopping Joker from succeeding in basically turning this city into a fucking miserable world of, oh my god, we're all going to die, we hate everything, times 10 instead of just the usual times 2 that Gotham's going through. The only thing stopping that from happening is Gordon and Batman keeping the secret that Dent went on a murder spree, not Batman.
And also about 8 years, because 8 years later, exactly that happens.
Yeah. I've got a letter, and I'm going to read it verbatim. We'll get to that next week.
No, I don't want to have to watch Dark Knight Rises again.
So, The Dark Knight, Batman's been Batman for like 6 months.
Batman's been Batman for a hot minute.
Yeah, and mobsters are filling in the gap. I mean, fair continuity. Like the Italian, Eric Roberts' character, fills in the gap left behind by Carmine Falcone going away, and so you have the escalation of mob
He's Sal
culture.
Maroni, isn't
Is he Maroni?
Yeah, I think he's Sal Maroni.
Yeah. The Italian, and then the other guy's the Chechenian.
That's all he gets. He just gets the Chechen.
That's all he gets. He's literally called like the Chechen in the credits. It's like, you give him a fucking name or what? Like, they're making deals on sort of a big level, like underhanded, low-key crime is a thing that's disappearing because the legend of this creature / this man who will beat the shit out of you is spreading. So
yeah, Batman's
so
got him
far,
on the run, basically.
Yeah, so far so Batman. The film opens with like, oh wow, we are in everything back in the sandbox. Let's start a Batman story, Batman territory now.
Well, it doesn't really, because the film opens with the heist.
Oh well, I mean in terms of where Gotham is.
Yeah, so it's only after the heist that you get a sense of where Gotham is at.
Yeah. But that's also kind of nice because you go from a daytime massive fucking staged robbery and then you realise, oh, Batman only does shit at night. Right, well, obviously this guy has actually gone, what if we just do it during the day? But it isn't about the robbery, Matt. It's not about the robbery. It's about sending a message. Because Batman's doing his shit. The new District Attorney, Harvey Dent, is pretty fucking good at his job, and the mob are annoyed and running scared. Like, meanwhile, they're trying to be low-key and avoid Batman.
Well, they try and assassinate Dent in court.
Yeah.
So he's definitely got him running scared. But
if they're not trying to kill you, you're not doing your job right. It's like, yeah. I mean, your boyfriend nearly just got shot, but cool.
Yeah,
like
cool.
You're totally fine with this.
So he's trying to get more out of Gordon, because Gordon is sort of clandestinely working with Batman, sort of off the books. And Dent wants in,
as well as like massively screening people who work with him in his department, because he works in the major
not well
crimes
enough
unit.
as it turns out.
Well, he's working in the major crimes unit, or briefly later on he's like, the Joker just escaped MCU, and I was like, I want to screen grab that moment.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So yeah, Dent wants in. Batman's going after the Joker. The Joker is hired by, quote unquote, hired.
He's a wild card who, like, he's done crimes. It's hinted at the end of Batman Begins, which is sort of Batman Begins is kind of one of its other little things that says maybe this happens before Batman 89. It's up to you. No, we're going to do a whole series that's based on this now. So fuck that. Because you're like, oh, that's the same sort of card as like the ones Napier's fucking around with earlier. But okay, interesting. Not the exact same card, but like we know he uses playing cards. And in this, it's like, no, we find out that he gives out Jokers from decks as his fucking business card, which is just like, here's my card, and just places that down on the table, just walks the fuck out with a shitload of grenades on the end of a string. Let's just talk about him now. Ledger's Joker is... I love Jack. Batman 89 is my favourite live-action Batman movie. It gives me so much joy. I fucking love it. Ledger's Joker is neck and neck with me with Nicholson's for... Oh, yeah, that's the character on screen. That is the Joker on screen.
Yeah.
Like, Nicholson is the visual, the clowning, the sadism. And Ledger's Ledger's the sense of humour. Like, Ledger is the master planner hiding behind this clownish appearance. Because Nicholson's Joker's impulsive, which the Joker can be. You know, it's just like, oh, she's fit, let's arrange a date with her and kill an entire gallery. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's his thing.
Yeah.
Like, whereas, like, Ledger's Joker is like, oh, I want to freak everyone the fuck out. So, I'm going to leave clues. Some would say more Riddler-like, but the Riddler turns it into a fucking puzzle that has to be solved, whereas the Joker's like, no, I'm going to kill that person, and that person, and you know I'm going to do it because you found their fucking name at the crime scene. And no matter what you do, I'm still going to get it done because I've thought differently than you.
Because that's the thing with this version of the Joker. He's plans within plans within plans within plans. Even
it's
though
all part of the plan.
Despite
so
the fact
he even
that
lays out, here's my plan, whereas his actual plan is something completely different.
Because he keeps telling everyone that he doesn't have a plan. He's just, he just does everything randomly. He's an agent of chaos.
Which itself is part of his plan.
Because
he's bullshitting
but he's
to throw everyone off.
Meticulous plans upon plans upon plans upon plans. It's what makes this version of the Joker great is he's not a physical match for Batman. There's no real version of the Joker ever is. But mentally,
this is one of the few scrappy ones. This is one of the few scrappy ones who's actually like, all right, I'll fucking beat him up. Let's go for it. I'll give it a try.
But he's not going to match him in terms of raw power.
But mentally, you're right. Like Batman does not outfox him at any point in this movie. Like, he just adapts to what the Joker has done and tries to call it a day.
I think he does sort of get a bit more proactive towards the end, but the sort of the corruption of Harvey Dent sort of turns it back on him.
Yeah.
So Joker still gets his last laugh, so to speak.
And he does laugh. This is
laugh.
for the quote unquote dark gritty take on the Joker. Fuck off. No, it isn't. It's different. It's one that fits in with this world's bare bones sensibilities. Absolutely.
It's darker than Batman 89, I'd say, but only in the sense that it's...
And as in a different way. I think they're both quite dark. I mean, Uncle Jack Joker, you know, your fucking frivolous camp, you know, Tim Burton goth nightmare.
Yeah.
He's still pirouetting in a room full of fucking mutilated corpses at a war zone photos he's cut out himself, each and every one. Like, he's still like horrifically acid scarring a woman's face and seemingly partially lobotomizing her just so he can freak out another person.
Yeah.
And be like, look at her. Like, he's pretty fucking like horrible and dark, the Nicholson Joker, but he's a camper delivery. He's a camper package.
Yes.
Whereas this one's I think dark because a lot of the things he does are very believable because they are very like, oh, that could happen. Oh, someone could do that.
Yeah.
Like, you're not suddenly pulling a parade of Joker gassed air balloons out of your arse and going through the town, you know, throwing out money, hubba, 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 who do you trust? Like, you're not doing that. But
I wish he was, though.
A bloke can put on a rubber mask and shoot someone.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing this Joker's doing. And we talked about a couple of episodes ago, and we were asked, like, film theories, what's your favourite sort of fan theory about this and the other? And I said, like, there's one that is more built on actual evidence than theory, but this Joker is a military vet who was left for dead.
Yeah.
Like, he was on a special ops team. He has no traceable, like, fingerprints, birth, like, no matching names, no visual ID match. And that was probably even... You know, that probably even was the case before he cut his face up, or someone else cut his face up.
It's one of them. He'll have been like an off the books operative or something, like a.
He freaking knows his munitions.
Yeah,
he can improvise bombs like you read about. Like, he's
tactics, things like using the cable guns to take down the helicopter during the chase, things like that. It's tactical. It's strategic. It's not random. It's
knowing
planned.
knowing how to psychologically play the mob off of each other.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just it's a knowing where to set up what domino that Batman will inevitably topple for him. Like, he sort of is like, yeah, no, if I do this, that's gonna happen, which is great because I'll fucking go back here and then I'll go this way, and like, he knows. I mean, he sews a cell phone bomb into a man's stomach.
Yeah.
You don't do that if you're just a kooky, wacky clown man. You do that if you're like, yeah, we've had to improvise bombs and fucking conceal them like in our bodies and then shit them out later so that we can get them past detection. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is somebody who knows full well what he's doing, and he's ready to die at any point as well.
The scary thing about him is that you can't predict him.
Exactly, like when he puts a gun in Harvey's hand and is fucking resting his own head on it, and he's like, flip your coin, go for it. Like, come on. Like, it's like, he's got all these plans, and yet he's here going, kill me. And then you think about it afterwards, you like, his plan at this point is to turn Harvey into like the worst fucking person ever and completely shatter the city's confidence in the guy who was going to save them all. So even if Harvey did shoot him at that moment, Harvey's already off the deep end. So even if the Joker died in that moment, he still wins.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he lives means he's like, right, I can go and do that ferry thing now. This will be fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, like, he's not planning to be caught by the GCPD at that moment, but he has a plan in place
for when he does get caught.
Caught. Just like, oh my god, what the living shit. The only moment in the film where he is actually powerless is when he's arrested. And he's in the interrogation room.
But he's kind of not, though, because he...
Well, because he uses... Because he's already set a thing up, and it's like, off you fucking go. Like, go on, run, try and get it sorted, good luck,
well, he has
goodbye.
He has that great moment where Batman's trying to beat the shit out of him, and he just looks up at him and he's like, you've got nothing to threaten me
Yeah.
with. You've got nothing.
Yeah.
You can't do anything to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
It's
if
like
you kill me because I've already won.
Beating the piss out of me is not going to save either of the people I already have rigged up to blow.
Yeah.
Like, go get him, motherfucker. And
one of them is going to die anyway.
And then he takes advantage of the cop to get into a fist fight with him, to let his guard down, so that he can then, like, suddenly be like, oh no, I actually do have a bit of strength left in me. I'm going to fucking take you hostage.
Who I didn't realise until...
I just want my phone call.
I didn't realise until I rewatched Angel that that's Holtz from Angel.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Cool.
He's great. He's phenomenal in this, and there are bits where it's like, oh, there's the comic book Joker. There he is. But the rest of the time, it's the spirit of the character is absolutely informing everything he does.
But it is comic book Joker. It's like a first appearance comic book Joker. It's Grant Morrison's sort of David
man
Bowie
who laughs
Joker.
like
it's,
murderer.
Yeah. It's that kind of thing.
It's just like, he's so good. He's so good. He's so... And that opening heist is the perfect example of just, like, setting you off. Because I remember watching that for the first time in the cinema and being like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
As each and every one of them kills... And it's that whole thing of they each give you a little bit of info about the Joker, because they're all turn to each other and be like, I didn't meet him, did you? No, like, but I heard he does this, and I heard he does that and the other. And then they reveal that, oh yeah, he's been there the whole time. Like, he's been one of them and none of them even fucking realised. He's so good. Another random great actor popping in and out for 5 seconds, William Fichtner.
Yep. Great in that first scene.
As the mob adjacent or mob paid off bank manager.
Yep.
Like, it's, just like, the fuck is going on? The way he spits out the word, respect. It's just like, damn, you are taking your 5 minutes.
I love William Fichtner. He's great in everything he's in. He's one of those who always gives, like, top shelf stuff.
Another person who always gives top shelf stuff who's sort of underserved here is Maggie Gyllenhaal. She gives some great moments, but I popped here. Both Katie Holmes and Maggie Gyllenhaal play Rachel really well.
Yeah.
They both go for it, but the character's criminally underserviced in both films, considering how important she apparently is to our protagonist.
Yeah. Because she's not a character. She is a plot device to manipulate Bruce Wayne's emotions. Like,
yeah.
And that's
especially
why she's
in this
killed.
movie. In the first film, the childhood best friend should be the human anchor to bring him back down to reality and be like, do you realize like what you left behind? She should be an actual symbol of the man you should or could have been, like, was here.
Yeah.
And then you disappeared and you became something else entirely. And I know you're driven in that, but like, you could have found happiness just staying here, being with your friend, being with your fucking caretaker, and, taking up the company, like, using your resources this way, and like, we could have hung out. We could have got a fucking movie when you got back and be like, oh my God, let's have a catch, let's have a meal, let's go watch a film, let's reintroduce each other to ourselves. And instead it took a week and for me to bump into you. And like,
bump into you so I can deliver this proverb.
Yeah.
Which again happens here in the Harvey Dent dinner scene with the you either
die a hero
or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
You become the villain.
Like,
Trailer line.
That's only that's barely related to the stuff you're talking about just before that with Caesar. Like, he didn't live long enough to see himself become the villain because he didn't think he was a villain.
Yeah.
Like,
yes. And they make that the plot of everyone in this, really.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They make it Gordon. It happens with Gordon. We see Gordon die, a hero, and then he lives on, and is the one who has to keep this horrible secret.
Yeah.
So to himself, he's a villain. Like, he put his family at risk.
Again,
and he's lying to all of Gotham to protect Harvey. Harvey, of course, doesn't die a hero. He lives long enough to become a villain. Batman, like, he didn't die a hero. He lives long enough to become the perceived villain.
Yeah.
Like, it's everyone's plot arc.
Although if you're a poor person in Gotham who has to turn to crime to survive, he's already the villain.
He's already the fucking villain. And I think Maggie Gyllenhaal, as a moral barometer for all of our characters, yes, that's great, but only with Harvey is she given a chance to be a person. And I think not all of her scenes, but most of her scenes with Aaron Eckhart, I'm like, oh, look, characters. Oh, look. And it's mostly in the non-dialogue moments between them. It's left up to Aaron Eckhart, who is fucking great in this.
Yeah.
It's left up to Aaron Eckhart and Maggie Gyllenhaal to be like, oh, humans, there they are. Like the way they do the scene after he nearly gets shot in court.
Mm.
Like, that's exposition.
People!
But they're so genuinely kind of playful that I'm like, oh, this is sweet.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't listen to Bruce when he's all like, maybe I will give this up, Rachel. No, fuck off. Bruce is, they definitely play it as he doesn't realize it, but he's so emotionally manipulative in this film.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point. The idea is like he's so detached from his humanity at this point that he doesn't even realize it.
And he's so selfish.
Yeah, and
so
now
self-centered.
Luckily, it pays off for here in terms of like him realizing what a cock he's been. It pays off in Rises.
Yeah.
When Alfred is like, in her letter, she was telling you she was going to marry Harvey, and that she'll be your friend. Fuck you for like giving her this imaginary what if scenario for all these years. Like, she was going to leave Harvey for me, Alfred. We were going to be together. Fuck you for making her your romantic prize. Like, you never listened to her, Bruce.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, they make it pay off in Rises, and again, it's the delivery of Kane and the delivery of Kane. Like, they really make it work. But in this film, it's like, oh, you selfish prick. You selfish prick. But again, I guess that's also the point. They're trying to say to you, like, he doesn't even realize how fucking selfish he's being. Like, the film isn't saying, hey, ain't Bruce Wayne great for not thinking about her feelings? It's absolutely saying, isn't he a prick for not even thinking?
Yeah.
But it is also odd when, again, we're 2 films in, and it's like, Bruce Wayne is kind of... this film's kind of telling us that we should like him, but he's doing things that we shouldn't like. A part of the reason why we still enjoy watching him again, I think, is because Bale's like action hero slick in this. Yeah, sure, you're a great leading man in this movie. I mean, I'm not sure why you've decided to do that with your voice in this film, Christian.
The Bat voice in Dark Knight is the worst part of Dark Knight.
Like, watching the 2 films back to back,
he's doing it in Batman Begins, but then in Dark Knight it's so OTT.
When Batman Begins, it's throaty.
Yeah.
In Batman Begins, it's I'm disguising my voice by doing this. And you're like, okay, a bit weird, but cool, whatever. Like, if you just spoken to Bruce Wayne and then spoken to Batman, you wouldn't necessarily go, oh, they're the same man. You'd be like, oh, all right, sure. But then to be talking like this, I killed those people. It's like, what are you doing? And it also compromises his line delivery a lot of the time. I've put down on here, my favourite fucked up line delivery of his is, it's like, you got a bit of fight in you. I like that. Then you're gonna love me. What?
Yeah. Because also, how long was he standing there in order to deliver that line in time? It's that thing with you getting films with like those like arrival one-liners. It's like, how long were you waiting for the right moment to just drop in and deliver your line? You know what I mean?
He's Batman. He has a personalized grapple gun. Do you know how you do that moment? He's like, you got a lot of fighting you. I love fighting you. I like that. And then you hear fucking from above them all in the rafters, like, then you're gonna love me. Grapple the Joker up to the rafters and fucking punch him and then drop him to the floor.
Yep.
Like, that'd be a Batman way. And then he fucking flaps down and starts fighting thugs. Instead, it's like, sneaky, despite there being at least 5 meters between the wall and you, and a wall of people and armed thugs all watching what's happening between us.
It does take a little bit of weight out of moments like, but
it's also it's down to his fight choreography and how he shoots and edits it.
Yeah.
It's the start of the fight, and suddenly Batman's just out of frame, despite the fact that he couldn't be physically.
No.
Oh, God.
Because that's where the script needed to be. But it's things like the Bat voice also kills some moments a bit. Or it doesn't kill him, but it sort of... Like the whole end sequence with Gordon and Batman talking over the corpse of Harvey Dent. He's out of breath because he's injured, and he's doing the bat voice. And it's like, oh god, this is excruciating. Well, it's not excruciating, because like it doesn't spoil the film for me, but it is one of those things where you're just like, do you have to do that? Do you have to do it?
It takes to the second viewing of the movie to go, all right, he's going with this.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to pay attention. In the cinema, I remember laughing audibly a couple times.
And then they double down on it with Bane and Dark Knight Rises.
We will fucking get to that. So like they could, I mean, what? Just a character moment. Why doesn't the facade drop in that last scene?
Yeah. Why does he do it?
Like let some of Bruce creep through, even if he's not revealing his identity, even if he's not Batman Returns peeling that mask off like it's fucking cottage cheese.
I love it. I love it.
At least let Bruce slip through slightly, like when he's trying to stop Harvey from killing. What I realised only really on this watching is James Gordon Jr. Like they call him James at one point.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, so it is his kids, meaning that little girl is Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Which I said last night, like,
which is also doubly weird.
James and Barbara
so
have two children.
Named the daughters.
James and Barbara.
That's fucking weird.
I think in the comics, Barbara's adopted, isn't she?
No. She may have been, but they've definitely doubled down more on them being related since, because they've gone really hard on. Oh, Jim Gordon when he was younger, he had red hair. Like they've really doubled down on that. So, which of course is comic book is a visual signifier shorthand for these two are related. But yeah, like in that scene, if Bruce's humanity just slipped through a bit and the Batman voice kind of crackles a bit, you don't have to have like Harvey go, Bruce, like you don't have to have that at all. Like, just it's just human. It's just fucking human. Like he's lost Rachel and now he's about to lose Harvey.
But
like
he's not human. Well, technically he's already lost Harvey.
But that's the thing. It's like he's got a chance now to save Jim's family and try and pull Harvey back from oblivion. A thing that Harvey is apparently really good at avoiding because I'm fucking sorry, there is no way he gets out of that car.
And yeah,
between shooting the driver and the driver then like dying and the car flipping over when he kills the Italian toward the end, there's no way he got out of that car. Again, action direction.
Hey, he was wearing his seatbelt.
About it. Yeah, but you see what the car then does.
Yes.
The physical stunt.
Yes,
it's like no one survives that crash. No one in that vehicle survives that crash.
Well, I think we kind of have to talk a bit about the stunt work in this film because, oh my days, it's impressive.
Oh god, it's
so much really amazing and in Batman Begins as well, to be fair, but this one takes up to the next level. There's so much amazing practical
Batman Begins has a lot more CGI assisted kind of stunt work, stuff with the train and things like that.
Well, there's things like the train crashing into the parking lot towards the end. That's like clearly a miniature.
Yeah. A gorgeous miniature.
A very,
like,
very lovely miniature. Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I love miniature work. That's what I love about the Lord of the Rings trilogy so much.
Whereas in this one, like the whole chase on the car chase and the lorry chase, ending with the fucking practical lorry flip.
Oh, so good.
The lorry flip is Chris Nolan's superhero origin.
Yeah.
But it's also his supervillain origin.
Yes.
Because that was the moment where I think we all collectively, as people who'd like watch Memento, Batman Begins, Prestige, it's like... Oh, Prestige was late, wasn't it? But we all watch it.
No, Prestige was before Dark Knight.
Oh, 2007?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was while I was working at Blockbuster. So.
This guy is capable of doing incredible things, and he's using an art form that we thought was going to get lost to visual effects, CGI visual effects. Like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And then at that same moment, the pretension began to grow, which led to the eventual, like, you have to see Tenet in cinemas. No, I won't tell you what it's about, but you're excited, aren't you? You have to see what I, Chris Nolan, have created next. And it all starts with that fucking truck flip. Do you know what I mean? Like, that truck flip is like, oh my god, this is incredible. Sit down, Chris. Someone bring him a chair. Sit down, Chris. It's... I don't know. But it is a stunning moment. that's everything to do with the helicopter at the start of the car chase.
Yeah. That whole sequence from leaving the police department to him being arrested is just stunning. It's really well put together, and it's definitely the centerpiece of the film.
Yeah, it's fucking gorgeous. And again, like some of the few Joker moments, like him cackling away as after the guy gets shocked trying to take off Batman's mask.
Yeah.
And the bit where he's just like, "Excuse me," and he's just like getting into the driver's seat and being all like silly about it, and it's like, "Oh, here's the Joker."
There's also that glimpse of nihilism where he's just willing Batman to hit him with the bike.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like again, like if he gets killed, then it's just
he's won.
He's already got plans that are going to go ahead because there are people like elsewhere getting that warehouse set up at this point and all that shit. Like that's already going to happen.
Yep.
So he's still going to fuck stuff over. And Batman's going to be seen as a murderer. So, like, he wins still. Yeah, it's like, bring it on. And the almost disappointment when he doesn't get hit as well. He's like, oh, fuck. Because he's obviously thought, actually, this might be a better ending to... No. Oh, well, you fucking chickened out. Take his mask off. Oh, you got shocked. Of course, yeah, this is a Joker who's like... It sort of implies that he's going to take Batman's mask off when he then crouches over him, like he's going to try and do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just going to slit his throat. Like,
yeah, at this point.
And just kill him there and then be like, fuck it. But then in the next scene, it's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. You're too much fun.
Yeah, I like him. I'm going to keep you around.
Yeah. I know that obviously we've complained about the subtext, but I do kind of like the subtext of the Batman-Joker relationship in the comics being waved in Batman's face by the Joker.
Yeah.
Because what the Joker's great at, we've said all the great Batman villains are mirror opposites to Batman in some way, in one aspect of his personality or his gimmick or his training or whatever. The Joker is his polar opposite quite simply because he's unreadable. Like, you don't know what he's going to do, and he takes great joy in the thing Batman is designed and trained to stop.
Yeah.
The Joker delights in it. So it makes sense for him to sort of be like, ha ha, here's our subtext, you suck, ha ha ha. Which is done so well in this with that line where he says, like, you won't kill me out of some, misplaced sense of self-righteousness, and I won't kill you because you're just too much fun. It's like, yeah, because Batman's listening to that going, fuck, he's right, he's got me there, god damn it.
Yeah. It's just a really, solid, tense narrative, and it's got enough going on, just enough going on that it doesn't get dragged down by its own mechanical preoccupations or the mechanical predilections of Nolan as a director.
I've got a couple issues with it that still do kind of bug me.
Hit me with some issues because I might well agree with them.
Alfred's insane. I've written here, Alfred's insanely quotable, and yet nothing he says means anything.
Nope.
Really, like the bandit story is the only kind of thing he says in terms of like random, like, here's all my quotable stuff. Is the only thing he says where it's like, oh, he's kind of making a point. The point is, Bruce, maybe it isn't just as simple as like, here's the end game, and I've got to stop him getting to it. It's like, maybe this is just someone who wants to hurt people.
We saw a little boy playing with a ruby the size of a tangerine. I love it. I love it so much.
Line, again, absolutely quotable, and it'll be because so many people had never heard the word tangerine said A in a film or B by Michael Caine. Like, in a way,
ruby,
it's just so
the size of a tangerine.
Tangerine. A ruby the size of the house I bought using the money from Jaws the Revenge.
I saw that dog. He had balls the size of tangerines.
Tangerine. Exactly. That one line's legacy will live on in other shows and films. Like,
everything is the size of a tangerine.
Tangerine. Oh, jeez. And again, like, the few human moments that come from it is that lovely bit where, like, Rachel leaves the note with Alfred.
Yeah.
And he's always called her Miss Dawes. And then, like, she says goodbye, knowing they're probably not going to see each other again because she's going to be avoiding Bruce after this point.
Yeah.
And she says goodbye, Alfred, and they have a big hug. And he says, and as she's walking off, he says goodbye, Rachel. And it's just a little sort of, oh, that's a little sort of like he's dropped he's dropped the gentleman's gentleman thing to say goodbye to her because ultimately she is a friend.
Yeah.
And like it's like, oh, that is really sweet. And again, it's just the way they play. Michael Caine is like the ultimate twinkle. Morgan Freeman is the other ultimate twinkle.
Gives it a good
Together,
twinkle.
they each make twinkly eyes. Morgan Freeman gets a really weird bloody bit in this. Lucius at the end, the whole his Q role throughout the whole film is wonderful.
Yeah.
His CEO of Wayne Enterprises stuff is
Although
great.
the line about it doing fine against cats is one of those lines that comes out of nowhere and it's only really there so people can go, that's a reference to Catwoman maybe, but in the context of the conversation they're having, it makes absolutely no sense.
They kind of linger on it almost as the same way they do in the next film with a name, but we'll get to that. Although the whole movie stops for 3 seconds to give you that reference in the next one. But anyway, but the bit at the end in the third act, Lucius' hold up in the third act, RE, the sonar device, feels like a character beat that had no lead in. It's just really odd. Like his whole thing is Bruce has rigged every cell phone. He's using every cell phone as a sonar receiver and emitter, so that he can use sonar to pinpoint the actual location of the Joker's broadcast. Because so far, every time he's broadcast something, it's come from somewhere else than where he physically is. So using sonar, like a bat, he's literally
like a submarine, Mr. Wayne. Just like a submarine.
Submarine, Mr. Wayne. Here's that's where the voice is coming from. Gonna go get him. Yeah. Sure. But Lucius is immediately like, this is wrong. Talking about, he never says it out full on, but he's basically saying you're encroaching on people's privacy by using their cell phone.
And he's right. But he's never shown that sign of concern before. He's never shown that sign of concern before.
He's completely helped out every vigilante thing Batman's done so far. And also, it doesn't say anything about I have gone into everyone's cell phone and I've had a massive search done to find every possible message that could link us to the Joker or his next plan.
Yeah.
I'm physically using the device as a sonar emitter.
Yeah.
It's not, I've been spying on everyone's text. I read the DMs, Lucius. I read the DMs.
I have all the nudes.
I have all the dick pics, Lucius. And I'm going to hold them hostage. That's not... Do you know what I mean? It just sort of seems kind of he's right. There's an ethical quandary here, but he's also using the phones as a piece of hardware, not as a piece of
That being said, though, I do get... Even though he hasn't shown that concern ethically, I think that it is so relatable that you kind of don't need to show that character already having those beliefs because I think they're so universal.
But maybe just one extra line, just maybe, something we've never I know we're about stealth, but we've never gone this far behind Gotham's back. This is a step too far. It just sort of is. It sort of is and also it's kind of weirdly placed because it's this feels like it should be their possible crossroads as friends and allies, but you're sticking it in this bit where everything's super tense already because of the ferries. And the music is suggesting we're building to the climax, fighting the Joker in the construction site. Yeah. It's sort of if this had happened in the middle of the film, and then Lucius kind of comes round to going, that was wrong, but he needs my help on something else at the end, and it's that thing of look, I don't agree with that. You can't do anything like that anymore. And Batman's like, you're right. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Just some kind of character reconciliation. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. It felt like it came the fuck out of nowhere in terms of its placement in the story. I've written, Caine is a solid Alfred throughout both movies, even if he is just Dumbledoring throughout this entire film. A Dumbledoring is basically spouting truisms and giving sagely advice in every scene with the occasional quip.
Yeah.
We don't really get to see Alfred's character outside of the...
Well, other than the fact that he's a sarky bastard.
Yeah, but outside of the flashbacks in Batman Begins, and then everything with him in it in Dark Knight Rises.
Well, yeah, because the things with Alfred, they happen because the script says they happen.
Exactly. Exactly. He's just scripting. He's just there to read the bloody exposition. and give you a motivational speech, Master Wayne. Master Wayne, here's a story from my days in Burma. It's like, Alfred, I just wanted a sandwich. The sandwich bandit. You're stealing sandwiches. Sandwiches and Scotch eggs the size of a tangerine.
Hey, we caught him. We had to burn down the subway. And after that, we couldn't eat fresh.
We had to blow his bloody doors off. And the only other note I've written down during my watching yesterday was the Two-Face effects are actually horrifying and maybe a little too realistic.
No, well, I was reading it.
They sit in the uncanny valley of, yeah, I guess that would happen, but also no one would be walking around like that.
Well, that's the thing. They originally
a corpse might look like that.
They originally were more realistic as to the kind of injuries that he would have.
Flesh.
But
yeah.
test audiences found them more horrifying.
So they stripped him back to skull with gristle.
By making him more obviously unable to survive them, it felt more cartoonish. But originally they were more realistic, and apparently test audiences did not like them at all.
Because I know in the original that there's only a few behind the scenes photos out there, but it's him in prosthetic makeup.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of tracking dots on it because they were always going to do some CGI enhancement. So I guess they just went, turn up the CGI! Like they went to the CGI knob and they just cranked it to 11. They were like, eyeball swirling around in socket. I want to see tendons. Like, what is going on? Like, I like it, but it's again, this film more so than the last one. Like the first film, like we said, sort of is, it's not gritty, grim and gritty Gotham. It's just bare bones, stripped back to the essentials of what this world needs. Batman, with a slightly realistic bent to it. Except Cillian Murphy, the Batman. And then this movie read all the reviews and went, oh, they like the grim and grittiness. So this movie is a bit more grim and serious overall compared to the first one. But then Two-Face shows up and you're like, but you look like a cartoon. Like, you look impressive, but do you fit here? Like, if you line up the villains, like picture in your head the villains of the Dark Knight trilogy. So, you got your Raish and Raish your Raz and Raz Decoy. You've got Falcone. You've got Zaz, who I take back what I said the other week. It isn't just a little tally mark tattoo. It's a couple scars on his neck, and he does fuck all on screen. We're told he's a murderer, and he does fuck all on screen. We just see him in court, and then we see him come out of a cell looking like, yeah, I'm free, and that's it. But, picture Zaz, picture the Joker, picture Bane, picture Talia, and now picture Two-Face. Two-Face is the odd fucking one out in every possible way. Like, even Scarecrow's sack doesn't look cartoonish next to his thing.
Scarecrow's sack.
Yeah.
Hey, Scarecrow's sack is only in 28 Days Later.
Go and see that in IMAX, motherfuckers. Cillian Murphy's genitals enlarged to at least 2 meters in height and width.
He wishes.
No one looks at his penis, they all look at his luscious lips. And he does have luscious lips.
Trying to find some early Two-Face images now, but I don't know if any of them are around. That's apparently something they were going for early on, but I can't find the source. I can't verify the source.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can. That's
It's more restrained, but it looks.
I think what it needs, what Matt's just shown me, essentially kind of looks like Freddy Krueger, I guess. It's sort of like Krueger makeup. But not as horror movie-y, more kind of realistic burns, but like Freddy Krueger kind of patterning and spacing. What they needed was to just go a little further than that, and I think they would have hit the perfect look. Just a little further. Do you know what I mean? Like damaged lips, something to do with the eye, so maybe he's not got eyelids, like.
Which can happen. Like, it happened to Niki Lauda in real life. His eyelids burnt off, but his eyes were fine.
Yeah.
So well, not fine, but they were intact and working.
Very watery.
Yeah.
But just it's like I don't know. I don't hate it. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but it is kind of like, oh, that's a bit cartoony.
Yeah.
Whilst also being realistic in terms of what sort of flesh and bone, like colouring and everything we're seeing. But, yeah. I like The Dark Knight a lot, and I love a lot of it.
It's very, very good.
It's stylish. It's not pretentious yet, but it is a bit up its arse in some places. It's carried by some phenomenal action set pieces, some very slick filmmaking in certain sections, and its performances, I think, are why it impresses people so much, because everyone swings for the fences and does a really good job, even if the script doesn't let them have much to deal with or tackle. They do a really good job, and then you've got the exceptional performances in there. Like Bale is great in this, stupid voice notwithstanding. Gary Oldman is great in this. And I don't normally say that about films where Gary Oldman is being used in such a restrained way. But like, he's an actor who is not afraid to go big or go home. And in this one, all it requires of him is, if you could go medium, that'd be great. But he pours his fucking heart into it. Like, he goes for it. Aaron Eckhart is great.
Yeah, he's fabulous in this.
Gyllenhaal, I wish they gave her more to do, really. But, like, she is, like, the way she's pitching it and the humanity she brings to it is great. Kane and Freeman are mostly there to play the support roles and, you know, like emotional support group for our main character and give advice, but they're both twinkly as fuck, so they can do it and it works and they're memorable. But it's Ledger. It's Ledger. Like, it's fucking Ledger. I mean, your mob bosses are all distinct. Like, you know, Mr. Lau and the Chechen, like, they all have distinct identities in this, and it means that you can picture each one. Like, you know, you could point them out. If someone said, here's a wall of random characters, point to the mobsters from The Dark Knight, I think you'd be like, oh yeah, that one, and that one. Like, you'd absolutely nail it immediately.
Yeah.
But as far as the villain goes, like, Ledger's just a fucking... He's a riot. It's hypnotic what he does with this part. Like, we've talked before about ironing movies where, like, you just sort of have them on in the background and it's like, oh yeah, I enjoy them, they're all right. But, like, you wouldn't dedicate a movie night to that movie.
No.
You'd have it on in the background. I tried to do that with The Dark Knight once. I just stuck it on.
It grabs your attention because it is so...
I had to stop every time Ledger was on screen. Yeah. I had to stop. I was like, no, I'm watching now. He's got me. Like, he's absolutely got me. I know the squealers when I see him, and all that stuff's just like, oh, Jesus Christ, you're so creepy, but like,
it's a really magnetic performance. It's just it just
like
radiates
Harvey Dent Burns
energy.
You can't look away, even though it's horrifying. You can't look away.
Oh God.
So Nolan makes a damn solid Batman film, and then he makes a really solid Batman film.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about the red-headed stepchild of this film family.
Yes, I think so.
I'm reserving thoughts till next week.
Yeah, I need to watch it again. I've not watched it since it came out on home release, I don't think.
I'll tell you about my first experience with it next week.
Yeah.
It was a biased experience, and I'll tell you why next week.
Okay. Okay.
It was the whole thing was the biggest example of a way homer that I've ever experienced, where like you realize something after the fact as you're headed home, and you go like, oh, so really it was next week.
Okay. Okay.
We've had emails. Dirty, sensual emails.
We'll do a couple of emails. We won't do all of them because we're already running over 2 hours.
Dirty, styled to look like the 90s toys, but they're large and expensive. Dirty.
Please
Toy Biz style emails. I'm just using this as an excuse to show you my new toys on camera. I've bought 2 Spider-Man toys that are using retro packaging.
Oh, look at them.
They're using retro packaging, but they don't make any sense. Because they're not based on the animated series. Spidey's nice, though. Ooh, look at that boy. Look at my Spider-Man.
Oh,
give him a lick.
He's not...
One day I'll be safe enough for you to come here and give him an actual lick in person.
They'll never be safe for me to lick anything ever again.
Dun.
Hey! This one comes in from Dan O.P.
Dan O.P., the big chokey.
Yeah, that one.
Yes, the prison that
one.
That kids are locked in by Mr.
And has requested a special voice. So here we go.
Oh, good luck.
Hello again. Now I've just missed your recording slot. So this email will be a week out of date by the time it reaches you. Let's hope nothing calamitous happens in the next week. This came from the 23rd of July, by the way, so it's 2 weeks later at this point. Sorry, Dan, that's our fault. I have an imposter! I noticed there is another Dan who emails on the regular who I was confused for in a recent ep. I, Dan the Kneecap Man, have not emailed since my email for the 4th anniversary ep, and so to avoid confusion I shall sign off with my full name. The main reason for that hugely unnecessary paragraph was heard on Chris's Insta that you had hate mail, and in case it was from my fellow Dan, I wanted to clear my name. It was not. Certain fans really are the worst. That horrible attack against Sacha Dhawan being the latest example. You're not wrong there.
Por exemple.
You know who isn't pathetic?
Oh?
Batman! Are you sure about that? I've been playing the Arkham games for the first time recently, and I'm currently on City.
Absolutely, hands down, the best for gameplay in the series.
Asylum took some getting used to after my multiple Spidey 4 playthroughs, but really pulled me in by the end. So I'm enjoying City more as it feels much grander. Anyway, some cues for yous.
Okay.
Which is your boy's favourite of the Arkham games? And what do you think of the rumour that there's an upcoming Xbox exclusive Batman to rival the PS5 Spidey? For me, as much as I enjoy Bats, Spidey always wins. What's our favourite Arkham game? Asylum for me.
Asylum. I think City's the best of the Arkham games, but Asylum is just, it's a tasty experience. Like, you could sit down and play Asylum over a weekend.
I like Asylum because it's contained. Yeah, City is impressive.
The tone, the narrative,
yeah,
the tension.
Yeah,
of Asylum. Like it feels like you're playing a horror game half the time.
I think City almost suffers from being too big and too open too early on, whereas Asylum is very contained.
I think City's sort of like Asylum you can play over a weekend. City is if you enjoyed it and you want to play something in the week.
Yeah.
Move on to City.
Yeah, I suppose.
Do you know what I mean? It sort of feels like it's in the City feels like a natural expansion of Asylum, but part of Asylum's charm is, like you say, how contained it is and how tight the whole experience is.
Yeah.
Those two are my favourite. But if you were like, you can only play one for the rest of your life, Asylum, hands down. Love it.
Yeah. I agree. Xbox exclusive Batman. I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen.
On stream a lot. Like, don't take these rumors as solid, guys. We disproved on our YouTube channel 3 years ago the existence of Arkham Insurgency, which at that point had been rumored for months, to the point where it was like so many YouTube channels were getting traction and likes and views off of speculation videos for something where the evidence was piss thin.
Yeah.
And I just outright asked Roger Craig Smith, who plays the because it was meant to be a sequel to Origins, so it was set in the prequel timeline. I just said to him, like, is it true this is working? Because I would like to hear you play Batman again soon, but like this all seems to be conjecture and rumor. And he replied with like, if that game exists, it's absolutely news to me, and I am the guy that they'd work on for the prequels like they did with Blackgate.
Yeah.
And I just replied with, thanks for letting me know, like, cheers. And we did a video, we went, yeah, so look, like, here's the guy who voices Batman in that game, who would be voicing Batman in this game you all say exists, and would be, like, you know, if it was on the cusp of being announced, like you're all saying it is,
it'd be like a,
then that means it's 3/4 finished.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 finished at this point, if that's the case. And he would have recorded his dialogue a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So he either would not have responded, or would have said, well, I wouldn't be able to tell you if I had. And he said, no, that's not a thing. And we got so much shit for that video. Like, load of views, shitload of thumbs down, horrible comments. And then E3 came and went that year. And the year after.
Didn't appear.
And the year after. And now the rumour mill starts again because Warner Brothers Montreal.
Yeah, Warner Montreal are working on a Batman
teaser
game.
Image.
Rocksteady.
A teaser image of the Court of Owls about a month and a half ago. It was a Court of Owls-esque thing. So everyone's thought process has been, new Arkham game confirmed. It's happening, and it's going to be an Xbox exclusive. Wait, what? Huh? What? Right. So
I think Microsoft might be doing the co-marketing.
Maybe,
but I don't think it'll be an
exclusive. I think for
exclusive.
sure that Warner's Montreal would work on a Batman title. Absolutely. Why? Because Warner Brothers own Batman.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's Arkham. The reason Origins exists is because Rocksteady were like, we're going to need a few years to make Night because it's going to be a different console generation.
Yeah.
It's going to mean X, Y, and Z. Like, we can't just make Night and have it out in 2013. Like, we want it to be on the PS4, but it ain't going to be a launch title. So Warner's went, right, Montreal, you're going to work with Rocksteady, you're going to get their assets, and you're going to make a prequel. We're going to do a spin-off. We're going to do what Ubisoft and shit are doing with Assassin's Creed and just make other versions to fill the gaps so that the brand is always there and everyone's always talking about it. And blah, blah, blah. Like, so I wouldn't put it past Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers Montreal to make something in the Arkhamverse, but if they did, they wouldn't be being this coy, nor would they be lax enough to let leaks get out and confirm it way before they were.
It has been a leaky ship this year. Like all the big publishers have been leaky ship.
But before Night came out, Warner Brothers registered like 40 domain names for websites, like Batman Arkham Finale, Batman Arkham City 2, Batman Arkham Legacy, Batman Arkham. Like they did loads of them, and the same happened after the fact, and that's what people were like, oh, is it going to be a new game? Is it going to be a new game? They jumped the gun, and they just, obviously, they have conversations about possible things that they might develop.
Yeah.
And then someone at the web team goes like, right, we're going to spend a bit of money, we're going to Bagsy all these domains now. So that we've got them.
Yeah. That's
why it happens. Like, they've Bagsy'd a Suicide Squad domain, they Bagsy'd loads of stuff. People also forget that whilst the Arkham games came out, during the existence of that franchise, we had Gotham City Imposters on the PS3.
Yeah.
We've had 2 of the Lego Batman titles came out during that period.
Yep.
And we also had 2 seasons of Batman from Telltale.
Yep.
It's possible there's a Batman game coming out. I'd like there to be more Batman games. I like Batman. I'd like to play more games with Batman in them. I'm not going to play Fortnite for Batman, but I'd like to play more games with Batman in them. But everybody, chill your fucking pips.
Chill out.
And wait. Wait for them to say, oh yeah, we've got a new game in the Arkham series coming out. Just wait. If they say it, great. If they don't, you didn't waste time getting all excited for it.
Chill out.
So don't worry about it.
Dickwad.
Go back and play Arkham Asylum. It's the best one.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So yeah. It being an Xbox exclusive, though, if it was a new Batman game, any Batman game, I don't see that not happening, possibly.
It could happen.
Because Spidey sold so well, and again, this week, Marvel's Avengers announced that Spider-Man will be in the game in the war rooms and the campaign.
PS5
but he's
exclusive.
PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah.
Oh, PS4 and PS5
Oh,
exclusive.
so yeah, okay.
So just Sony. So I could absolutely see, like if you're gonna do that, release him on all platforms, but like PlayStation players get like the Insomniac skin as an exclusive bonus. Do you know what I mean? Like, do it like that. Don't hold Spider-Man hostage. Fair enough with the game because Sony fucking co-made it with Insomniac, so fair enough.
Well, they published it, yeah.
Yeah, so like fair dues, but you know, I could see them. I could see that. Anyway, rant over.
Anyway, right, let's call it there for this week because we've got a couple more emails, but we're going to be spending less time talking about Batman next week, so we'll have more time to delve into emails.
Really?
Yes, really.
I have many things to say about the Dark Knight Rises. We'll tell you what. Emails we got this week for Begins and Night will open next week with them.
Yeah.
And then we'll crack into the Dark Knight Rises with a nutcracker that looks like a metal crab sat upon Tom Hardy's balding face.
I have to watch it again.
I know. I'm so sorry.
But yes,
I'm so sorry.
So we'll do that for you right here next week on the Big Damn Cast. Get us on Twitter at Big Damn Cast. Go see us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Big Damn Stream. And of course, if you do want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/Big Damn Cast. And
Give us your monies.
This is really irritating. If you do want to talk about Batman next, have your email read out next week, then of course bigdamcontact@gmail.com is the email. We will see you then.
Not .co.uk, it's .com.
Yes, it's .com.
Lovely address.
I'm going to go and beat the person doing the Bane impression. No Bane next week, Christopher, I swear to God. No Bane next week, or I will reach through Skype and throttle you to death.
What about Bane from the Harley Quinn show?
It's nearly the same, but it's a little sillier.
Still counts. Bye, everyone!
Raise me up and break me!